driving under suspension, and they were trick questions. And I figured out early and often, these will be tricks, trying to make a point. So you had to pay attention because they give you a long driving record. And hidden in that driving record was something that would give you the answer about who could do what. Because they were usually the questions were, does the court have authority to do something, or the BMV, or no one, or whatever. And driving under suspension is an enormous headache because it is so complicated. Years ago, Chief Justice Moyer asked the legislature, why don't you pass one law that encompasses driving under suspension? Because you have like 5. It would just make sense. The legislature instead created 12 more.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah. And they sometimes are in conflict with one another because nobody has read all of them and said, well, wait a minute. You know, that statute says the judge has no authority. Here you gave the judge authority.
Another one of these. Great.
Oh, our next public records request, yeah. I think we're gonna need to hire someone just to do public records.
Just to do public records, no, right, no, we have moved it.
At least part-time.
Oh, I missed that one. There's no public records. I missed that.
It's this
It
letter.
was towards the end of the pack.
Yeah. August 16th.
And a part of it,
Oh, it's
we
here.
don't, it's not anything we track, so I mean.
I was there plenty of time, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault.
Door cards break down.
There's nowhere to go.
Hey, I went to McDonald's. They don't break down there apparently.
My coffee's crap,
Like,
does bad things.
It's that is crap, that's for sure. All right, we're live
So we're
already.
live now.
Go.
Okay, we're good.
Ready?
Yep.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, one and all through the August 17, 2022 meeting of the Washington County Board of Elections, which otherwise known as our official canvass meeting, among other things. We would note there is no public, although we are Zooming. So I guess the next issue or item, do we have minutes?
Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I have not gotten a chance to get them. I'm hoping to do that today, since I am actually in the office, and get those out to you this afternoon.
All right. Bills.
Everything pretty much, with the Suddenlink one, we mentioned it, I think maybe at the last meeting or one before that. They kind of stay, we're kind of continuously behind because they give us like a very short window to pay from when you get the bill and when it's due. So with the auditor's office, you know, it takes some time for it to go through. So we actually have that bill here today for you to sign. And then we had the delivery trucks on there. That was like just over 2,000.
Is that about what we've been paying, or did it go up a little bit?
It went up a little bit,
Yeah.
but that's about the same as May.
I was thinking it was just under 2,000 before, and then this.
I imagine with gas prices or whatever, they probably put on a service fee of that or something. Even
Yeah,
though
well,
gas and
Because in May, they had told me it was going up then, so this was like about the same prices.
But you already got leased for November, so we're good there, so that's
So we've already
good.
got that ticking.
But all of
Wow.
those, Michelle Stevens, Jed Butler, United Rentals, Chip Wilson, and poll worker pay will come out of that. The $158,000 that we received from the state.
Well, I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Just a question, Michelle Stevens, mileage for equipment delivery, is that unusual?
No, because she helped, with the guys, she had to she transported them back and forth from picking up the trucks. and then dropping the trucks off.
Okay,
So
I see.
it was
I
the
see.
mileage for her to take them.
I don't remember seeing that on there before. Has it been on there before?
We've had, it's not always been her, it might have been somebody else. Yeah.
And we did have to, on the poll worker pay, there was some mileage we had to pay some people. Like Jed, I had to pay him mileage because his normal polling place is Newport, and I sent him to New Matt because he was the only Democrat available for the election. So I did, and then I had Lisa Bangerland had to work Porterfield, and she lives here in Marietta, so we had to pay her mileage for that as well.
And on that question, did we have to pay mileage for that person that forgot the key?
No, I did not pay, I paid her one mileage, yeah,
Okay.
I paid her
Just the
the first time she
normal,
came.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good question, though.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, great.
Did we? When is the last day to spend money for the election?
Right before
When do we
you
have
vote
to
for the
return?
official, that you vote for on the official canvas, so today.
Then we have to return
We
anything.
have to return anything else. Like, we found out, we were on the phone call, what day was that? Today's Wednesday, so Monday.
Yeah,
You know, we were talking about, gosh, we wish we would have the $158,000 for the security instead of this election. And she says, well, you had to spend by the election by the day that your board canvasses, or does the official canvas. Because we might have been able, I don't know, she said it would have been squirrely, but if we wanted to do the swipe cards, we might have been able to pay for that from that grant. But obviously I
Well,
can't
then
get it
you
installed and
from the-
get it,
yeah.
get it ready by, day's end.
Yeah, it occurred to me, and unfortunately, it's obviously too late then,
Yeah,
that we could have brought in 2 or 4 of our delivery people to have gone through all those trunks or
Mhm.
whatever, because we're in anticipation of all our movement. What we have in those plastic containers, by no way will meet the needs of our new polling locations. And so we're going to have to go through each one of those per polling location and determine how many signs, how many cones, do they have to create a handicap parking?
mhm.
What are they doing?
Right,
And that has to be done before the election.
before the
Yeah.
dinner, yeah.
And unfortunately, arguably, we could have done it in
Yeah.
anticipation of this election, but if we're doing it today, then
Yeah.
that dog's on the dog.
While the legislature changed the primary date to August, they didn't extend any of the deadlines for the next election. Which
Yeah.
is why
Or
we're in
shortened them,
the,
or-
yeah, we shortened it.
Yeah,
So, which is why we're in the spot we're in, I guess.
All right, well, we got correspondence.
yeah, and the first one there, the 2022-40 directive, that's the one.
That's how to do
We've
what
had
we
it,
do.
right, that's how to do what we're doing today, that's why it's still on there, even though you've had it before. And then the 2022-41 preparation for the statewide mailings. The state is gonna mail out absentee ballot applications for November, to all registered voters, so that's our instructions for preparing for that. They're gonna do 2 mailings, an initial one that'll get most people, then they're gonna do one again, I think it says in October, for people that newly register to vote before the deadline. And then the 2022-42 is our designation of districts for the State Board of Education offices, which before we were in the 8th district for that, and we stayed in the 8th. So attached to that directive is just a list of the other counties, including us, that are in that 8th district. And the most populous for that people will file out's Mahoning, so we're not populous for that.
Yeah, we're just doing our thing.
Yeah, they'll just certify to us who the
Everything.
candidates are and we'll put them on the ballot.
Right. Okay, Oh, while I'm thinking of it, just food for thought. We are, if we're gonna be changing all our voting locations, I think we need to do a massive publicity campaign. Because we're gonna be I didn't know. I mean, when you consider the number of people that have said, I didn't know there was an election, the Board of Elections should have told us that. I mean, I've heard that from just about everybody I stumble into that knows I'm on the Board of Elections. And I'm going, well, you try to be polite, but you kind of want to go, don't you have some obligation to pay attention? And if you miss the entire news that the Supreme Court of Ohio has been batting this thing back time after time, have you not caught on that then there was word, oh, there's an election in August?
Yeah.
But that.
We heard that from a poll worker too, and he says, are you using social media? And I said, I'm using almost every platform I can.
Right.
I think we can put a positive spin on it, but, and I mean, we can come up with a positive campaign for it. But what I was gonna say is, I'm sure, I think, that on MOA, we probably do a PSA for free.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we've talked to them before.
And yeah, and
Definitely
I've done the talk of the town on there with, or John or Jacob, so I can do that
So
again.
we can do that, we can put out radio commercials, PSAs.
Now, all those voters will also get our
Yeah, we'll send
postcards, so we need
every
to,
month, so.
I guess I need to ask if we're gonna talk about this. How was the Warren visit?
Oh, fine.
Was it good?
Yeah, we're gonna.
And he's willing.
Gymnasium, they're happy to have us. They have a carpeting system they use to protect their floor.
Okay, parking is good there, back,
Great.
That's perfect.
okay.
And there are no
They'll have to
students.
close school.
No students will be in that building at that
Okay,
point.
so it's gonna be like
That's easy.
Salem, Lower Salem.
Yes.
It was great.
Great.
Yeah, so it's gonna work out just fine. But again, that's another one. So we're gonna have to, early and often, every place we can,
I'd be happy
hang
to
a
help
sign,
come up with a little
make a
happy campaign.
speech.
I like that stuff.
And then what about our website? Do we,
Yeah, we'll have it.
we'll have it on our website, maybe something like,
We might
flash,
Yeah,
deadline to register, flash.
yeah,
If too many of those, then I stop paying attention.
yeah.
Well, I guess that's right, but you got to do something.
So I wanna hone this in. We're keeping the fairgrounds, putting the first NAS and the fairgrounds together. We're keeping, or are we keeping Knights of Columbus, or are we moving them too? Because we were worried, I know, about pedestrians.
I was gonna say, you probably do get some walking traffic.
Well, I thought we were going with that group to the fairground.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
everybody in
fine, that's
Marietta
fine, because I can.
That's what I'm-
Mobility.
And I mean, Knights of Columbus Fairgrounds, that's not that far away. I mean, people
Right.
can walk,
Yeah.
bike, I mean,
Right.
bus,
And
whatever.
There'll be bus
So
service
that'll
and
be-
so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can work with Buckeye Hills on that, with their transportation people
Right.
and make sure we get that. So, okay, so,
So all of Marietta.
All of Marietta at the fair, I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it?
yeah,
When will, so if I go on the website to find out where I vote, when will that be ready and updated?
We can do
For people
it,
to go where they now vote?
once we officially decide, and then it'd have to be after today, after our official, then we can put it on there anytime.
we can put it on the
So
website.
we don't wanna start advertising until
It's
that's ready.
on the website, right?
Yeah.
And with the fair coming up, we can get changes and maybe the Democrats and Republicans in their booth can put it in their booths.
Where you vote.
Where you vote.
Mhm.
That's a good idea.
Or, if you voted here, vote
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Are you guys having a booth, do you think?
We usually do.
We usually do, but I haven't heard any.
If not, we can put it in maybe the health departments or whoever, just so, I mean, if I said I knew I was gonna be
Anybody that
around,
put it up, put it up.
I'd have a booth down there, but yeah.
I mean, anybody who has a booth.
Honestly, Jeremiah's Coffee Shop.
Right,
yeah, yeah.
Put it on.
If we
Make a poster,
Yeah.
maybe make a poster. If you voted at now you will vote.
Yeah.
Will you, when we finally decide, and I think we're there, will
I-
you send us all the list of, if you voted here, you now vote?
Yes, yes.
And then
I
we
will
can-
put together
Okay.
piece and
Now, is
Okay.
Pinehurst going to the Career Center?
a thing.
That was Warren 3 precincts.
Yeah,
Warren, we were the Career Center, is that what we decided?
yeah, okay, okay.
I think it's gonna be important if there's a possibility we can do something with the Sternwell Festival
Mm-hmm,
as well,
okay.
Well, if we have a little poster thing,
If
we can,
have
and
something-
on the poster, can you also put in the date of registration, voter registration date on it too? And then we could probably walk around we find people at Sternwell that will also post it. Although there's a lot of out of town, I mean, Sternwell's
know.
big on out of town. It's just sort of
But
very.
I'm thinking that potentially, we could talk with Sternwell folks and so forth. I just, I think the more the happier that we're going to be.
If I can get something, I'll put something out at the Waterford Fair this weekend too.
Right.
This weekend, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I can just,
We can have the chamber do a blast.
mhm.
We're not a member of the chamber as a board.
As an office now.
But I think the commissioners are individually as commissioners. I can get Kevin to put something out.
Okay.
If that goes on.
That works.
The other thing we can do is we can volunteer, if you will, as speakers
Mhm.
for Lions or Rotary, Kiwanis.
That's
You know,
right.
usually they're always begging to, so if you know a member of that group and so
I
forth,
forget
say,
what the one
we
was we talked
happily.
in Belpre.
The Belton Chamber probably.
It wasn't the chamber, it was like their Rotary or something.
I can talk to the Muskingum Valley Chamber luncheon whenever, theirs is usually Wednesdays, the second
Yeah.
Wednesday, I
Yeah.
think. So I could do that one
Maybe it was
too.
Lions.
Yeah, well, I will work on that, getting all that ready for you and.
Okay, who's going, let's make sure, who's going to Waterford High
We
School?
were gonna wanna look very.
All of
proactive.
Beverly, Waterford,
And we can get our
Watertown,
talking
and
points
Lowell.
ready for what the reason.
The reason.
And then
Yeah, because people will be asking.
Warren High School is Porterfield.
everything
No, no,
is
no,
that
no, no. Warren High School is Lighthouse.
Lighthouse was,
Put a good spin.
Spin on it.
not Porterfield,
Porterfield,
that
go to Belfry.
Oh, they're going about.
Okay.
little hockey, little hockey.
So what was wrong with the car?
Little hockey is going
I don't
to.
think
Just
so.
wouldn't
I
go.
don't know anything, yeah.
There's Belpre,
It shut
I can't
down.
remember the name, but there's one that
And
goes,
she couldn't get
that's,
it to,
Rockland West,
okay, that's gonna go to,
Things start up.
wouldn't start.
Belgrade.
Yeah.
Belfry.
But she was,
Rockland
we
East
were,
will go
there was
to
a
Warren
car
High
in
School.
front of her at the.
And-
Or Rockland East
That
votes in
person
Belpre.
Oh, and it was her turn
Okay,
to go.
Rockland East goes to Belfry, Rockland West will go to
There was
Warren.
just-
Because they're the Porterfield people, Rockland West is. They go to Porterfield now.
It's not like.
Oh, okay.
So they'll still stay in there. So only Lighthouse.
what precinct is little hockey?
My first thought
It's at
would be the
Porterfield, too.
person is.
Okay, what's the, what's the,
Or Little Hockey and Rockland West.
No,
are
it's only on the
currently.
Yeah.
And
Should we send Little Hocking to
No,
Warren High School now?
Maybe we could.
I thought that's what we were.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that's what we
Because that's
decided.
Warren's
Because they all go to
Right.
foreign schools,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think,
There is a small part of Rockland West that's Belpre City Schools.
no, I'm, I mean,
But I mean, it's not like it's.
if
big part.
majority is little hockey,
Yes, it is.
people that go to Warren,
Right.
we should move it
Right,
to Warren
Little
School.
Hockey goes
Yeah.
more.
yeah.
And I'm sorry about the people that, are in that because
Yeah, well, they
you gotta go with the majority.
Right.
Well, and you're gonna hear, you're gonna hear.
We're gonna get
from
complaints no matter what we do. It doesn't matter what we do. We're gonna-
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna hear.
Well, to the extent we all go talking to people. or
Right, we can
groups,
explain
have to
that.
have our, our talking points.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about
Saying the same thing.
right, and how fabulous it is to get into the schools, to do the civic engagement with the kids, and
Yeah,
learning opportunities, all of those things.
exactly. So I will work on that today as well. And get that out to you guys.
And I will let you guys know and come in and film a little ad.
Okay.
We're gonna win those awards next year.
We're gonna put one of those.
Just know ahead of time so we can.
Oh, you want me to bring Willie? I'll get Willie all prettied up. We can have Willie bouncing around with a vote here.
Really, it's gonna start getting something that says vote on it.
Absolutely, love it.
Willie says.
Billy says. Register.
We're up to certified.
So we've got our provisionals and absentees to go through. We have, in your packet, you'll have, let me find mine, one that says absentee ballots postmarked August 1st. And then what we'll say on there too, absentee ballots postmarked after August 1st. So we have the absentee ballots that were postmarked by August 1st, there was 3. And these 3 were actually all postmarked the Monday before the election, August 1st, so that we can count them. And here they are, 1 through 3. And they were, the identification envelopes were completed properly.
Yeah, we didn't have to have
Oh, you have
anybody.
no, no,
We had to come in and
Yeah, we
do
didn't
it.
have to have anybody come in and do anything, so.
Maybe we're finally teaching them they need to do. After so many elections we've had.
Or we would just be.
Get too, because
I know.
we've had very few voters here.
I know, that's true.
That's really cute, Karen.
That's really sweet.
All right, I'll make a motion that we accept the absentee ballots postmarked by August 1st.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, passes. So that takes care of 1, 2, and 3, and now we're
If you
looking
wanna
at A and B.
Melissa or Emily receive them in.
Okay.
And then they can take them out.
Okay.
Now, these are ones that were postmarked, both of them on August 2nd, on election day.
Which is
So that was too late.
unfortunately.
Oh, that's so sad. Do we ever tell people that, sorry?
No, we don't.
I mean, I don't know if we need to, but.
I don't imagine the big elections.
I did have,
I don't have time.
one of the first 3 people, the 1 through 3, one of them
Oh, this is August
contacted us
4th.
to make sure we got their ballot on time. So I did let them know we did since they had contacted us.
These are August 4th.
Or, that's when we.
Oh, well, you got it. Oh, I see.
Yeah, the
Okay, no, I'm
postmark
looking
is
up here.
the
Yeah,
same.
you're right, August
Yeah.
2nd. Jeez.
We didn't have to have any that were that invisible.
No, because we could read the or the, postmark on all of them, I saw.
Right.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we reject absentee ballots postmarked after August 1st.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Takes care of A and B.
Yeah, and so that's all the absentee ballots. So our next group is the provisionals. The ones 1 through 3 at the top, these were all ones that we contacted, another county for. They moved into our county from another county. I think we had Noble and I think it was Morgan that we had gotten, or had gotten a hold of. But the people, Hawking, not Morgan, so Noble and Hawking. The people were registered to vote in the other counties, and they did not vote in the other counties, they only voted here. And they completed their forms properly, so their registration will get transferred to our county.
And they did vote in the right precinct.
Yeah, in the right precinct and polling location.
So they're good to go.
Yeah, so they're good.
Move to?
Oh, yeah, interesting. I know those folks.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the provisional ballots 1, 2, and 3.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And then,
So I could give them,
yeah, but tell Melissa she'll need to update them to accepted.
okay,
And they'll want to keep those separate, the absentee and the provisionals, the
Okay.
ballots separate. So then I'd like to move to the end, to the last one, number 17, that says rejected voter not registered. This person, we had looked them up in our statewide voter query to see if they're registered anywhere else in the state of Ohio, and they were not, and they were not registered here in our county.
So these next 16?
I'm doing the last one.
We're doing 17.
Oh, 17.
Yeah, 17 and 14. They're the same number, but.
They're not registered.
Yeah, the one that says, rejected voter not registered,
That'll be number 17.
yeah. And we try searching, you can try searching different ways, like with just the name or birthday and first name, in case they change their last name and you couldn't find them.
Well, I noticed they'd originally marked no, and then it looked like it was a cross out.
But this will register them to vote.
Right.
So for future, they'll
Well, so
register.
they'll be in there.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion to reject number 17 as not being registered to vote.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
So then the bigger group there, that's the 4 through 16. These are all people who, either just didn't bring their ID with them when they came to vote, or they changed their name or address.
But the information they gave us then turned out to be correct.
Yes, everything was completed properly, doesn't need to be. So their information will all get updated if it needed updated.
So they confirm it on the envelope?
Yeah, we confirm what's on the envelope with our voter registration system.
It looks like we have a practice or our poll workers are supposed to put a sticker on.
Yeah, the sticker's on there, and we put the stickers on, but then the poll
Oh, you
workers are
do?
supposed to initial it. Yeah, these ones up here. We put those on, so if it doesn't have one, it was an in-office voter.
Right.
But we put that on there, the poll workers or one of each party supposed to initial it, so that we know they look to make sure it's completed.
Right, because that's what I meant, this sticker here for
Yeah,
that.
that one.
But that seems to be a off and on again thing.
So
Not every
we'll have to
one.
remind
Well,
Yeah,
the ones
mine.
that don't have stickers are in office.
Oh, could they just,
Original.
Yeah, if it doesn't have the, yeah, like this one
Oh, okay.
was one that voted in here, so that would have been a
so
polling place.
maybe they're all good then, I guess I was just looking over here for
But we started doing that because we were getting a bunch of the provisionals that wouldn't be completed, like, the voter wouldn't have signed it, or
looks
put their
like they're
birthday or
done.
something that we had to have.
These folks may have forgotten their initials. I think it's important for us to keep reminding folks so that it's simply we can trace through, because if we find that we're getting a ton of provisionals as we have in other elections, where we have one voting location that
It's not.
I mean,
up.
has
Yeah.
a third of every provisional that we had came out of, one location. And it's like, why were these all provisionals? And anyway, it's good to see who the poll workers were, if there was a reason for it, or we wanted to go back and query somebody about something that
Yeah,
happened.
because we've done that before too.
So can we
Right.
tell why these were provisionals on here?
We put like a little code on there, that we
Okay.
might have wrote no
Like,
ID.
no idea.
Oh, no ID.
Yeah, or if it has like an A/C as address change.
Okay,
Or
all right,
N/C
that's your,
is
okay, there's your,
change.
that's how you know what it is, okay.
Yeah,
So like these two don't have, and they were from different precincts.
right.
They didn't have
Yeah, the
initials.
person,
Right.
so we might want to remind
And
them.
we can look up those
Right,
precincts and
and
see who's
again,
in
it's
charge.
it's just one of those things that you just wanna,
Mhm.
And maybe at training, that's something we can remind them to make sure they're doing the
Yeah.
initials
right,
on there.
yeah, cause you're gonna be training here. Oh, that also reminds me of, we sent out, we made requests of the parties for their nominations for poll workers.
We
That's-
don't have to do that until next year, I think, because it's a 2-year term. I mean, that's my understanding, because I did it last November, I think, or last May.
Would you check on that,
Yeah,
only because, Mrs. Byers brought that up to me, that she hadn't received it.
Okay.
But these otherwise are all fine.
Yeah, everything was,
Everything's squared away and,
and they'll get, after we close out the election, and we can automatically, we have a software that we enter these all in. So then after we're done today, we'll transfer that over and it'll get updated and they'll get a postcard from us that the information was updated.
That'll be a different postcard,
Yeah.
more than the one they're going to.
Right.
A different one, they'll just
Yeah. Or not paying attention to, yeah.
Is there still a cable network show here in Marietta on the local cable?
19, I think, yeah, channel 19.
I mean, if we could do one of those ticker.
oh, for all the blue.
Huh?
Excellent.
If we can do, something like that, or Marietta College has one or something.
Marietta College does.
Okay.
Yes, they do.
Do they, because they do the city council.
They do, they broadcast the city council meetings.
and.
That might be good to have it on it during the council meeting.
You have Willie running around with a little car.
We should
We should make Willie a star. He'd be all in it.
That's what I say, Athens has a pumpkin, we can have.
Yeah, Willie'd be more than happy to participate. Actually, if we're gonna do that, you gotta tell me, I'll get Lucy to get him groomed up, so he looks pretty.
I will let you know when.
All right, when he's ready to
When we're
perform.
filming.
Yes, then we can all be groomed up.
Yeah.
He's used to wearing a little backpack. So we could put, like, if you wanted to put, I have a little backpack, yes, you could put a sandwich sign on him,
Yeah, put him in the parade.
Oh, absolutely. No, I have a little backpack so he can carry his own little water bottle and food or whatever. And he's hilarious. He goes around with a little backpack.
I love him.
I'll make a motion, we accept provisional ballots 4 through 16.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Okay, you want me to?
Yeah. Not.
Local options do we have? That's next. Oh, we have the Belpre
Oh, I want to hear this.
School, right?
That's the levy.
Yeah, we have a lot of levies.
I was gonna say,
There's,
oh my gosh,
yeah,
all of those?
yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like a
I'm sorry, I don't know if you.
two-sheeter in November.
As a,
levies.
them individually.
Oh, yeah, no, more than that.
Yeah.
Because he has to have the description. So it may be a three-sheeter. Well, if there's that many levies.
Yeah, that's
Oh
true.
my gosh, Secretary of State. But our deadline because our deadline to certify the issues, I think it's coming up here, let me see it's on Monday, so we have to
So we might as well do what we gotta do
certify
now.
today, yeah, because we don't want to meet again.
Was there time, the deadline to file is already
It's
passed?
passed, that was
Okay,
the 10th.
so we got what we got.
So, yeah, we're not gonna get any more.
Okay.
If you want, I'll just read them off here and start
Yeah.
ask them. The first one we had was for the whole county for an electric aggregation.
Is that a renewal or? no?
It was, it's not really for money. It's just that the
To
Yes,
permit,
sir.
commission be allowed to be allowed
Commissions
to.
the authority
Yeah,
to aggregate located in the county.
okay.
and Ben had told me there's no kind of
Service
talking about that,
agreements.
they wanted to turn it in.
They wanna
like
be
that.
able to do it if they wanna do it.
Right,
That's all this is, okay.
and then, because there had previously been an electric aggregation on the ballot. So I think maybe that's what they're checking to see if they even need to do this one, because of the previous one.
Okay.
Which the previous one had been in 2015, and it had been on before.
So, and that passed?
Yeah,
So why are we doing it again?
well, that's what I think they're checking on, because I told him, I said, well, this has been on, this might be a little different wording than I think what was on
Okay,
last time, so that.
All right.
so is this for infinity? Like this
I
says,
think,
There's no time limit on that.
no,
okay,
But customers are, it says on there, able to opt out if they don't want to be part of that program.
Yeah.
Which
And
the
it's,
previous
and it
one
allows
said.
municipalities or,
This is to allow the county.
The county.
The county.
Commissioners.
but
Yeah.
so,
The
what is,
city of Marietta does that for electric.
Yeah, they already do that.
Yeah,
what
they
if
already do
Beverly
that.
wants to, but Belpre doesn't?
I think it's each customer has to opt out.
Each customer,
Not
okay,
each
okay,
municipality.
okay, so it's not municipality or
Yeah.
government.
But each municipality could do their own.
Can, like,
Like
if,
Belpre's done their own.
right,
before.
and so like if the county commissioners don't, and Belpre wants to, they
Then
can.
they could do their own.
Okay, okay, I get it,
Or if Beverly wanted to do their own,
yeah,
they could.
okay.
How many of those are countywide? Just a question.
Let's see. We had another one. I don't think we had anybody that were countywide, just
Yeah, there are a lot that overlap.
that go into other precincts.
I feel like something really balance out.
No, well, the school levy one does,
Okay.
but other than that, no.
Earlier county was.
So,
Gonna be 2 pages.
I'm trying to think,
Warren
we could
has
very well have a two-sheeter.
Three.
Oh, yeah, and in
All the
some
state
places,
laws.
I mean, it may be a 3 in some of these places, depending upon who else,
Descriptions.
Yeah,
They're not
and the description.
super long. I think some of them are page bound.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
It'll just be a
Are there any
back.
issues?
You're gonna have two sides.
Two sides is all.
Yeah.
Are there any issues?
We might have to end up with statewide.
I don't know that they did that.
I think we might get a statewide.
I don't think it's this year. I think they have it
yeah,
planned for next year.
I don't know which one. I think it's a vaccine. I don't think it's marijuana. I think it's a
I
vaccine.
can't get it, I can't fit another statewide ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, do you want to, vote on each one of these separately, or wait till we get them
I
all?
think we can vote as an aggregate if,
I think you can do that.
All right.
Okay.
no pun intended.
So we'll make sure, that-
I
yeah,
was gonna say.
so we'll have to make sure we mention each one during the time. Okay.
Fearing Township has two, a fire and EMS, which was a replacement of a current levy. And then they have a roads levy, which is also a replacement of a current levy.
Have we, on all of these, have we checked that all the other documentation that needs to accompany them
Yeah,
are
we
there?
sent, I've sent stuff to the Secretary of State's office, because they'll do like a
Right.
double check with the language we
Right.
prepared.
So we've done all that.
But we haven't got back everything from the Secretary of State yet.
So can we certify pending,
Yeah.
pending certification by the Secretary of State's office? Okay.
They are approving.
Yeah, their approval.
Because remember last time we had that issue with the Belpre.
School.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Then we have the New Matamoros operating levy, and this was a renewal of a current levy. And then also, which will be in the New Matamoros, the Matamoros Grandview precinct is the Palmer liquor auction. And that was for sale of beer.
Yes,
It's
they
a
will.
renewal.
Just beer?
Yeah, that's all they're asking for this time. Because with a liquor auction, you can only put the same language on, ask for the same things every 4 years.
Oh, that's right.
And
We
it
talked
hadn't
about
quite
this already.
been, yeah.
Yeah,
So they just changed the
So
language.
they just asked for something different, yeah. Which, I mean, it keeps failing there, maybe this will help them, that it's asking for less, I don't know,
Maybe that's their thought.
so.
Well, even if they
Somebody
have a-
really wants liquor.
Maybe this is a legal question,
Really
but
want
even if
liquor.
they have a liquor option, you still, it's not like you can have a state liquor store or a state liquor operator if you vote for it, right? I mean, even this liquor, it's gonna be that lower,
Well, you can, on those petitions, you can. pick
It's a C1
the-
liquor permit, whatever the C1 is.
okay,
Yeah, you can ask, to be a liquor store,
oh, you
like a
can,
liquor, state liquor store.
Oh, you can.
with those.
okay.
With the
okay.
C1?
No, C1 is something else.
Yeah, that's what they've applied
So
to,
you can,
C1.
okay, so you can,
ask
but,
to be
so
that.
we say liquor, but it's really not
This,
real hard
although
liquor.
this is just for beer, yes, what they're.
This says C1
This is
though.
Mad Dog 2020 stuff, right?
Well, but because they specifically identified it as a C1, they can't go for the state without doing something
Right,
different.
they had to do it.
Yeah,
They have to stay with the C1.
I just wondered how that happened, how that
Well,
worked.
they have to wait on the
Is there any other
They never asked to be a liquor
sales in
store
here other than
before, so
Weber's?
I don't think there is
But
Belfry.
they first gonna have
Belfry
to.
is a liquor store.
Oh, yes, they do.
Be able to sell it.
But not
I
liquor,
don't
liquor.
really know.
Not-
I don't think
It's
you
not
can
like
stick
a
a
restaurant.
liquor store in it.
Oh, maybe so.
No.
Because I think it's a percentage of alcohol that we could
That's
sell.
true.
Then yes.
There's
Yeah.
already all
That's-
that alcohol,
Yeah.
that's why they don't have a great variety.
Otherwise, nobody would put it on option, they just go to the state.
It's not
It's not
My
real.
experience with liquor is not great, so.
Well, mine either, you can tell how little I buy liquor. but-
Yeah, really.
Then our next one is for Palmer Township, which is fire and EMS, and that was a renewal of a current levy.
Yeah.
Then we have Warren Township, which is a renewal for a fire and EMS.
And it's a renewal as well.
This is
Yeah.
also renewal.
Most of these are fire and EMS, actually. We have, for West Muskingum Fire District, so this would be the Oak Grove side. Theirs is a replacement of their current levy.
For fire.
Fire and
services only.
EMS, or, yeah, fire and EMS.
Fire
So
and
what's the
EMS.
distinction between a replacement and a renewal? They want to go a different millage
Well,
amount, is
it
that
has
why
to
they
do
call
with,
it that?
if the property values have changed,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
all right.
I had Bill McFarland explain it to me sometime when he was still on it. And it was kind of confusing to me, but it has something to do with the property values as they've changed. So
If they
Is the
change,
millage the same?
the millage stays the same, but your taxes could go up. I think it's if it's a replacement, it can go up if your property value has went up. So
but with the renewal, it cannot.
I think it stays the same.
It stays the same bulk money.
Okay, and then a
Even the
renewal
renewal.
versus a replacement just goes up and
Yes.
down with whatever it
Changes
is,
with the
whatever it
Whatever,
is.
because as you notice, there is
Okay.
40 cents for each $100
Valuation.
of your value. So if your value jumped by 10,000, then you're gonna pay that
Pay
extra
more.
because it's 40 cents per $100
Mhm.
valuation.
All right.
So those amounts, yeah, like the 40 cents or whatever it is, stays the same.
That stays, but if your value of your
It's tacked to
property
it.
went up, if it went down for some reason, you pay less.
The Watertown Township has a fire and EMS, which is a replacement.
Watertown,
Probably the same.
replacement.
And so once they so
Smaller.
taking that out further, let's suppose they go do the replacement. If there's a later evaluation, does that change with that? Because it's a replacement, or will they have to do another replacement versus renewal?
They have to do them every 5 years, so I don't know, like in between time, like,
I don't think you would because it's tagged to your value, so it just goes up and down according to your valuation, which is done every 3 years.
Okay,
Yeah, because I think it's an instruction to the
Whatever-
auditor to collect.
1.5 mils, yeah.
Of the value.
Of the valuation.
And they have to do this every 5 years?
Somebody sends out a bill.
So-
right.
Every tax
Value changes.
on your property tax.
Can you make it higher than 5 years? I mean, this just.
You can do them over a continuing period of time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and some you can do for 10 years, some you can do for.
I was gonna say, I think it goes over 10 years for some of those, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So if it's not time to selection, because the X's,
Oh,
I'm having them get that valid, I want the board wants to review that and decide.
so yeah, if you guys want to review it.
What is this?
It's thought that the machine thought the person didn't make any selections.
Because they didn't fill in the oval completely, so it's, the machines haven't
Oh,
got everything.
It's clear they're voting for each person in my home.
Oh, they vote for everybody?
I agree.
If you want, I mean, we could just start it in the.
Oh,
We
yeah.
got an R and a D. We agree.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you get, I have them printed out.
They do. Oh, okay.
They
We
clearly,
could just darken it.
I think that'd be okay.
Go ahead and darken it. Go ahead and darken it.
This
Well,
is
they're gonna do a
blue.
replacement.
Oh, you
Well,
want
it
it?
didn't matter either way.
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
There's that one.
As long as the board.
It's clear. We've
Yeah.
got plenty of R's and D's here. We're all in agreement. Let's darken
Figured
it.
as much.
Make the machine work, happy.
And then if it still didn't like it, I guess, then we can bring it
Yeah,
back
if
in.
there's a
It'll,
flame,
as
anyway.
long as it's not on the time.
Ryan, while you're here, if we can talk about this. Now, the oval in this one was easily read, but there have been some ovals.
Well, it depended on where we either got
Printed
them by mail or if we made our own.
Yeah, so the ones you made your own, you had issues with.
Yes.
This
So-
one looks like it was probably from the.
Yeah, so like the vendor that we use, for in-house ballot printing and mail and stuff, they rarely have issues because they do a lot of different vendors, lots of different election management systems. Runback is your vendor for your ballots.
Right.
For us to print.
We spent some time on the
Yes,
phone
we
with them, telling them exactly what's going on with regard to the timing marks, because the machine was having a hard time reading them. Eventually, we had to put them like 2 or 3 times before it would read it. And then we'd have to go through and check to make sure it was reading it right, which it was, but it was kind of annoying. So they had to do these settings and change. And what they've recommended, and this may be the same for these ovals, is that what happens is it requests an update, the computer does. And Runbeck has said that under no circumstance, and this is something you have to communicate to your county IT people, under no circumstance are you to update
That ballot.
Windows, yeah, that computer that's the, like, it has Adobe and all that stuff. And part of that suite is when it's time to update it, you go through and you connect through your encrypted Wi-Fi thing or whatever, and you update that specific computer. Well, they have proprietary applications that work on that computer to talk with the printer to print it. And it requires special settings, like edge-to-edge settings for ballots and the various components of the layering of it. And it sets to default when you update.
Yeah, so it just.
So then you have to
resets
go and
lose
get
all
on the phone with somebody
percent
for a couple hours, and you have to go through and try to figure out.
What your settings were before.
Okay, I have a question. Then when we print them like that, because obviously that must have been maybe an election day.
Yeah, this was an election day
Absentee.
one.
When we print that and we see that it's light, can we circle that oval with the?
No, we're not gonna tamper with the
We
ballot,
cannot.
No, we
You
can't.
just,
but we are gonna get Runback to darken it.
Yeah, if you test it, like if you don't change the settings on it
Mhm.
and you don't update that, I mean, I can't imagine how many times an update would fall in between when you've tested your ballot first and then, you know, somewhere in between, somebody will go and update it and then the settings change. But I mean, we could look at the timing marks on those if they're
Yeah.
just super skinny.
I mean, it did take us about an hour. Luckily,
Yeah.
Brian was here, you know, they could talk.
But we had people
So they
who couldn't
redid the
find
settings so
the
they
old-
Yeah.
print right.
And then they were telling their family, their friends, their church, their, you know, the lodge, that we have these ballots that are phony
Yeah,
and they're not real. And so therefore, the machine's not counting them. In other words, every conspiracy that's ever been created, those ballots were just reaffirming it. And when, even those of us who have, you know, somewhat vision, I mean, I was getting a flashlight out trying to, from the side to look at
That
some
shouldn't
of
happen, that
them.
shouldn't happen.
And it should be more visible.
So our
And
PDFs, when we print off the system for the files that they use, when you do your EIX tables, they're all the way that they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's just the way they print. So what I recommend is as soon as you get those EIX tables complete, I don't care how many test ballots you print off, just make sure that they're locked up. And then when I come in to do LNA testing, I will use them.
Okay.
So they're not gonna go to waste, just to double check to make sure everything is printing properly.
right,
And then we can always use those
all
for
right.
further tests.
So we got a plan.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, from Runback, his name's Eric, I like him, so he'll be good to help
Well, you
us.
can tell them I don't like his ballots.
Yeah, we didn't like him to start with, so.
Well, and I tell you, we are very fortunate in having Joseph as our IT person, because he's actually working with the cybersecurity team, because every time we do a Windows update, it's screwing up our personal computers,
At our workstations.
at our workstations, and so, and it's something I guess other boards are not experiencing it, but Joseph has been working with the cybersecurity team. So we just need to know, once we're in the election season,
No updates.
No updates.
Yeah.
No,
So
that
no
be done.
updates,
Yeah,
no
we done,
updates.
yeah.
All right.
Because what happens is, our USB ports don't work, is the problem
Yeah.
we're having. So then our keyboards don't work and mouses don't work, so you can't do anything because they don't work. So that's what the problem is.
Yeah.
But our next levy anyway is for Newport Township Fire and EMS, and that is a replacement of their current.
And
30.
it's a replacement, Andy?
Yes.
Okay.
And then Marietta Township, for a fire and EMS levy. This is a renewal, but it is like a year early that they're putting it on. Which they can do, it just kind of changes when, just kind of changes their timetable.
What's their reason for doing it a year ahead of time?
They wanna make sure they can pass it.
Yeah, I guess
That's
I
probably.
wanted to make sure they got it on in time if
Pretty
it
darn good.
didn't
Fire
pass.
EMS.
So if it wouldn't pass, it's
What's
still
this one
be
for?
Marietta Township,
But what's it for?
fire and EMS.
Okay.
Well,
So
you had to correct it.
We, no, we used their dates that they,
Well, no, I mean, at 0.5 mils versus mil, there's a cross out.
oh, yeah, that was, the state, that's when I get it back from the state, they said that.
They did that.
Yeah,
So they were otherwise happy with the date?
they just wanted to let us know that, I mean, they're okay with them putting it on, just so that we know that it's, a year and a half.
Who needs to know?
The township, it'd be their fiscal officer is the one that turned it in.
And so were they contacted to go, we were curious about the date?
Yeah, they knew, actually, even, Matthew Livingston had told them, when they, because they have to request from him the certification of.
And they said, this is what we want?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Because if it fails this time, they can put it up next time.
right, next
Right.
year.
Can they put it up at the primary next year, or can they put it
Yeah,
up?
no, if we, as long as we're, yeah, they could put it on the primary either way,
Okay,
even if
okay,
we're not
either way,
primary
okay.
otherwise, it'd be a special then, but,
Okay,
so, because they might not have anything otherwise on the ballot.
primary next year's in there.
Yeah,
So
that's the plan, that's the plan. And then our last one here is the Belgrade City School, bond issue and levy.
So this time it's perfect.
So there's nothing, wrong with it.
Bond issue and levy.
Dates were good. And
Do we have a,
Dates.
do we have an amount on that?
We'd have to look at it on the, I think it's like 42 million or something.
42.6.
42.6?
And then there's 11 million
99 cents.
attached
Additional
with it for
levy
permanent
of
improvements.
99 cents for what?
That's for
For
the
the
bond
bond.
issue.
Bond, okay.
And then an additional levy of 10 cents for the construction.
Yeah, well, it's construction and then permanent improvements, I think, so.
Yeah, wow.
This will probably get accused
On the
of
belt.
being pulling places to other schools, so I'm sure they're in horrible shape.
Yeah, that'll draw the turnout for them. We
Yeah.
just wanna make sure we don't use their superintendent as a.
No, he's not gonna be a poll worker.
He can be a poll worker, just not.
Not at his
Was
precinct.
that really little?
Yeah.
We also, we may not get.
I imagine he'll be pretty busy that day, so he probably won't be
He
able
probably
to.
won't work.
That's it.
Okay. We'll make a motion to accept the following levies put on there, the November election.
Yeah.
Proposed bond issue and tax levy for Belpre City School Districts. Do you want me to do anything more?
just, we're doing them as a group.
Yeah, no, I meant about each one.
No.
I know, you can just do them
Just say all of them.
Just say all of
We've
them.
just,
I've
yeah.
already got him in the notes.
Oh, okay.
You just explain
We'll accept
them.
all the levies that have been proposed to the board.
I'll second that.
And again, some of them are subject to approval by the Secretary of State, am I correct? That's part of your motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, passes.
we need to, decide when to do our audit, of this election.
When do we have to have it done?
We have to have it done by, let me find the date for that.
You sure that that money isn't going to go through the audit?
We can always double check.
We can double check, but I thought Diane told us that because it was specifically for this election. Now, the audit is still part of this election.
Yeah, I know.
So we can confirm that.
I think what we should say, Dennis, if you don't mind me saying, is that if we found that it can go through the audit, get those guys in here immediately.
Yeah,
And do the swipes and,
yeah.
I think it says it's.
Because I'm just thinking they're gonna need to go out there and look.
That's
You know,
the
because-
point.
How many vote here signs do you need?
The audit may start 6 days after the
Basically,
official results
in
are
all the
declared,
new-
and must be
all the new
completed by the
locations like the-
21st date of that
So
first day.
so today is the
Yeah, you're right.
17th.
If there is no recount, if there is a recount, we have
We don't have a
to
recount.
certify the results, yeah,
So
so
it has to be between the 23rd and
the 6th day
the 23rd.
and completed by the 21st day of today's declaration.
That's 3 weeks.
Would that be like September
September,
4th? I had debated on the 31st, seeing if anybody wanted to do it then. That's a Wednesday, it's 2 weeks from today.
I have something on that.
It shouldn't take too long.
The 21st.
The 31st.
31st is what I did.
It's a Wednesday.
I have a doctor's appointment.
We could do it in the afternoon if possible.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't matter, or even a different day, I mean, that's. And then we'll have to,
Are
once.
you busy?
Oh, what day was it?
The 31st,
I'm available.
Of August.
yes.
On that day.
2 weeks
Oh,
from
yeah,
today.
I have a training that day. I'm
Okay.
doing a training that day.
We can even do the 30th or
How about
the
the 30th?
1st, or
I mean, actually, it's a 2-day training and I'm a trainer.
which days?
30th to 31st.
How about the 29th?
That I could do.
Monday.
I hate Mondays.
I do too.
Yeah, we could always do the 1st, which is a Thursday, well, I don't know if golf is on Thursday. So,
29th, I don't care, 29th's fine, because we do it early in the morning, so it
Yeah.
won't take that long.
Okay.
29th?
This isn't gonna take long at all.
no, I mean, there's not very many ballots total, so we're not gonna have very many.
Could do it on the 29th, but not at 8:30.
What time?
10.
10?
That's fine.
That's fine with me.
If that's good for
Monday
everybody.
at 10,
August 29th at 10 a.m.
winter chicken dinner.
Okay.
Oh, 10 o'clock,
And we changed to 10 o'clock.
Mhm.
boom, done.
That is easy. Now for today's certification, I just want to make sure from my email, if you'd understood, we cannot certify our 95th House District results today, because we have to have our less populous counties report back to us.
What are these from?
I've heard back from 2 already, Guernsey and Noble. I think it was Harrison County was doing today also, but Belmont County's not doing until the 22nd. So we would need to do it, which I think their meeting's not before the end of the day.
And what is
Or
So
we can-
I thought of 23rd is the deadline.
And they're
So we
meeting
have to
then,
the 23rd?
Right, so that's what I was thinking, we'd have to do it. They're doing theirs the 22nd.
Oh, so we could certify the 95th on the 23rd.
Well, yeah, on the
That's the last
23rd.
day.
Right,
Yeah,
Well,
well, that's the
but-
last day we have,
But we're
but
meeting-
that's what we can do.
but we're already meeting to do the audit, so.
But
No.
we can't do it on the 29th.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna have a quick meeting to certify the 94.
Yeah, I mean, we've already voted,
Or 95.
because we had to vote on all of our absentees and provisionals first anyway, so we won't be doing that again. So it wouldn't take very long to just say this is our results from our other counties, plus ours, and certify it.
Certify
So,
95.
So we're gonna do this on the 23rd?
do the, yeah,
Could do that at 9:30.
Okay,
Earlier than that.
so that's good with me if that's,
What's that, 9:30?
yeah, on the 23rd.
Everybody good?
On the 23rd,
and it should take less than 5 minutes.
Is it 9:30?
okay, let's see where we're at on the 23rd.
Because that's what the state advised me on what we have to do, because, you know, Belmont County is the most populous for us, for the, state central committee.
Mhm.
So they have to wait for us to certify to them, but then we have to wait for them to certify to us, and we can't both certify at the same time, you
Yeah.
know, same time, so that's what the state had said.
So we said 9:30, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and since we're most populous now, this could be our future of having to do meetings like that. When the 95th, you know, when that district is on, when that race is on the ballot only, but
So then maybe we should think about waiting until the last,
Yeah.
Well,
a later
yeah, it
date
depends on,
to give everybody else a
Yeah,
chance
but
to
it's like-
finish their work.
because with the state central committee, you know, we have to certify that before Belmont does their certification for that. It's kind of a mess now,
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
because they're the most populous for that.
Okay.
And so we have to kind of work around each other's. So, because when I talked to the state about it also, Belmont County, they were having the same problem with, they're in the 96th House District too, they're in the 95th and 96th. So they had to wait on, Jefferson was the most populous for the 96th, and so it was just a continuous thing.
Okay.
Security directive update. How was the meeting with the commission?
Very good with the commissioners. They offered, in fact, Flight was there and offered, we were originally looking at this bathroom back here.
The one they had just on the other side, so.
But thankfully, to put our servers and everything in. But because those are fiber optics, moving fiber optics, according to Joseph, is just a nightmare. I mean, they won't touch it. They have to get a certified
They
technician.
would get another company.
So after our phone call on Monday, it was Joseph, myself, and Mandy, and the cybersecurity team out of the state's office. We have since found out that we can get a locked server case that does not necessarily have to go behind the cage, but we're gonna put it behind the cage.
I think that just worked out.
It just makes sense because that room is a multi-purpose room. But we're gonna put everything with our Secretary of State's and our vendors, computers and everything behind the cage, behind that cage. So we're only gonna do one wall of that cage. And then the rest will be a public staff area.
Can use it.
A workplace
It'll be
area. Yes, it'll be usable. So, you can buy cages. I had no idea you could buy these things. But Uline, so we have to get 3 quotes today. I'm gonna do that as well. We can buy cages. We're gonna measure that. And basically, we're just gonna take a quarter of that room, put it behind the cage, double locked, DNR, and then we're just gonna put a clipboard, and whenever we have to go behind there, we're just gonna write it down to log it in, and when Joseph has to go into the cabinet, he's gotta log it too, and that's gonna be a lot cheaper. We don't have to move the fiber optics. He said we don't even have to move the camera. You know, I mean, we don't have to buy another camera. He goes, if you want to, that's fine, but you're seeing me walk in. He goes, if you just point that camera a little closer to, because they really want the camera on the servers.
Where it is, right?
Yes. So we think if we move that just one ceiling tile over, that'll cover the door and that wall.
And you'll see everything.
And we should be able to
The
see
cages were
everything.
really nice that you could get from Uline, yeah, they suggested them, the state did, and they're really nice, you can get ones with even a ceiling over top, so it has the caging part over
Well,
the
isn't that what
top.
we want because of the.
Well, we
sprinklers?
definitely, I think we do want that
Yeah,
for
because of the
overall.
water.
Well,
right,
Yeah, because
right.
of the
The-
sprinkler
The
system.
server rack also protects it from the water,
I see.
will protect the.
Yeah, but there's other stuff that's gonna be in
Right.
there, so
Yeah.
we should get one with a ceiling
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's still a cage, so
Right.
no one would get in still.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if you, as long as it,
No one would climb in.
yeah, well, there's that too.
Yeah.
so I mean, we're gonna have to do some finagling, but I think if that's the case, we may be able to ask our delivery guys to come in and just install it.
To set up, yeah.
To set
Yeah,
up
if it's
the
just a cage that's
Because
pre-made.
they
right?
were doing those metal cabinets, you know, so I think it's something that Jed and Mike and all the guys can work together and maybe put together. The good thing about it is, because we have the 8mm filming on our windows, we do not have to do bars.
Yeah,
Oh,
so that works out.
So that works out there.
nice,
So we'll still go with the camera on the light pole out here.
which is better.
You know, if we still wanna look at swipe cards, but I think at this point,
It wasn't required.
it wasn't required, it was just, yeah, we'll save some money there. And we should be, under
Under
the
our
directive,
10,000.
you know, under, yeah, under our 10,000.
So if we do all that, we'll.
What was the cage, it was like 1,300, 1,400.
But I mean, if we do all of these things that we're talking about, will that bring us into compliance, so we're
Yes.
done?
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh, okay, so those are the last
Plus,
little bits we
well,
need to
Joseph
do.
still
On the
has
physical
to,
side.
yeah,
yeah, Joseph's supposed to do some stuff like.
yeah, he's got.
Right, yeah, but I mean,
That's the physical side.
But in terms of what we need to do,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it sounded a lot more detailed when it first came out, but then talking with, I mean, like I said, they didn't even care that the metal locked cabinet of the server was behind the cage, which
Yeah, it's a little odd.
I guess since it's locked.
I guess so, but I was like,
Yes,
well, I'm just
still.
gonna put it behind the cage.
Yeah, really, we wanna know who's
Which
in
also
and out.
saves
basically.
room.
Because I told them,
Right.
really, the only ones that are in there are you as the board on election night, Mandy, us
And
for
us.
staff, and maybe part-time staff. That's not a public area.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And
actually, when we
RVM.
got, yeah, pardon me,
And RVM.
and our vendors,
Yeah,
and our
yeah,
vendors.
vendors, yeah.
So it's gonna be a little weird on election night because Mandy and I will be inside the cage with, you know, RVM, and you guys will be on the other side. Yeah,
So they,
but,
you're talking about the swipe cards versus the key.
yeah,
There's something, I didn't think about that, and I was just at a board meeting last week in Indiana, and they said, somebody brought up the fact that, like if you're issuing those keys and then you have to have them returned back, you have to go after them or whatever. Whereas swipe cards, you can just go into the system and
and
And deactivate.
deactivate it, and you can
Yeah.
provide temporary access with lock.
It was just gonna be like
Yeah.
almost $8,000.
Yeah, it's really expensive.
yeah, yeah.
Well, for the first quote we got anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
We'll have to make sure Willie doesn't run in when somebody opens the door. That could be an unauthorized.
The alarms go.
Log.
Yeah. Speaking of alarms going off,
Yeah.
I guess I understand what happened with the alarm.
Yeah, somebody left that ajar.
I cannot, that alarm system should not, and that's what, I'm gonna talk to Aardvark about that. That alarm system, we should not be able
To set it.
to set it
Right.
if that door is any ajar at all.
Which we did notice the other day, you weren't here, but Chuck, or the maintenance guy for the building, he had came in and then he went out that door. And when we were leaving, we noticed that it was ajar a little bit and it was enough, we were able to open it.
Oh.
And,
And
and it set off the alarm system, because we had went out that night.
Oh, it did set the alarm,
Yeah.
it did.
But
So
you
that's
were able to
weird.
set it
Yeah,
when we left, so yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was
That door
just
Where's the-
barely.
Shut, the alarm should not.
Well,
shut.
this is a push door. It should just, I mean, isn't this a handicapped accessible door?
Well, the
Yeah, but
issue
if it
is that
doesn't close-
return has to close
It
the
has to-
door.
it
Yeah.
has to
And it's
engage.
not.
I don't see contact. Does it use motion sensor?
I don't know what it uses, but there's something, because it goes off.
you know, when you open that door, it drums. You can hear it.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
why-
it's not closed right now. It is not closed.
So if the contact is built in,
Oh,
then
wait,
it's
but
kind of like
it,
you
is
said.
that motion sensor? That's
Yeah.
the box.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's not gonna know that, because, yeah, if it.
Yeah, it would,
Exactly.
Well, it will say though, if the door isn't closed all the way, it will say.
it is not, yeah.
It'll say the door ajar, so.
Yeah.
For this
That's
one?
true, because that's how we knew which door it
Yeah.
was.
Right.
So
So it, yeah,
there's gotta be a sensor.
there's gonna be something.
Well, it's kind of snug, you can feel it's kind of snug.
That's why it's not
Yeah.
Shut all the way,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
maybe
it's not-
You have to really slam it to get it.
Yeah, you have to open it and pull it.
Well, yeah, most alarm systems, though, if the contact's not hit, it's not gonna let
You
you
can't
shut it.
Right,
But this is pretty snug, even though it's not closed all the way. You know what I mean? Like, it's,
so it's
so
not.
maybe that part of the
gonna
contact is
affect
hitting enough of it,
Yeah.
to like you said.
But yeah, to make it seem like it's there, yeah.
Oh, we just need to maybe put a big sign on there, remind people.
things. Yeah, well, and we're gonna try to be extra vigilant ourselves and.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean, what is it, did you check the other door?
We really only
Yeah.
use, I mean, that's how we exited voters,
right,
so
So
that's,
otherwise, we don't use it
Yeah.
a ton, I mean.
speaking of.
Can I ask a couple questions about the cage?
Mhm,
We're going to have everything off the floor,
mhm.
Yeah,
right?
because it'll be on that server rack, we'll have it off the floor.
It'll all be on the rack,
Mhm.
all of the,
All of the service,
Or
We're
we
going-
might still have a desk in there too.
we might
for
look
the-
at 3 computer cabinets, because we have 3 computers that we work back there on, and they can be locked as well.
so the Secretary of State's computer is going inside the cage.
Yes,
Yeah,
The, for lack of a better phrase, the counting system will be within the cage.
yes,
And the, what's the third one?
we have, that we communicate with Triad.
The
Triad.
triad will be behind the cage.
Mhm.
And they also
Which they are
suggested,
required.
because Mandy had told them that we keep
They're required to be
absentees
behind the
in
cage.
there. They suggested we get some kind of cabinet that is
There's
locked,
lockbox
double locked,
Somehow.
that we keep the absentees in. See, we just put the absentees in there, and then every night we double locked it. That
Double lock the room, yeah.
that provide, what I wanna say, adhere to the, what we needed to have.
Right.
Words aren't coming to me. So, that's how we just did it, and they were like, no, we really want you to have something that you keep the absentees in, locked, DNR. So I'm gonna be looking for a cabinet of some sort, a small one that we can just put back in there. And
What do you
then we
mean
have-
small? When you
Well-
have 10,000
Yeah.
absentees?
Well, large
Yeah.
enough to hold the
Yeah,
ballots.
yeah, I'm thinking if we can just, like, maybe it's a 2-drawer filing cabinet, and we just put them in there and get a double lock on it.
And that's gonna hold 10,000 while you're working on them.
Well,
Well, we
Because-
have to make sure.
Let me see if I have this right, because every time I come out, you have stacks of these US mail envelope
Well, we'll be,
boxes.
this will be the ones that we've ran through the scanner, not just the ones that are still in the envelopes.
Well, so we have those in the envelope, they're just kind of sitting around for people to fiddle with?
No, they're put back there in that room, and the only people that are in that room are staff, and we double lock it every night.
And the secretary's happy with those just sitting out.
No, that's when they suggested that we get a,
All right, so I'm gonna
So we
try
would put them-
again to understand that you can do this with a 2-level file cabinet when you have 10,000.
And Union County both have a really good system.
seems to me
When
you
you
ought to
find out,
have
like,
a
the organization.
File
Uh-huh.
cabinet that reaches
Most of those
5
guys have a
feet
really
tall.
good system of a taller, so
Okay.
that as you scan them, because usually people store them by precinct order in case of recounts or audits. They have a metal shelf that has all the precincts, actually some of them are wooden and they're just locked in rooms, so, but they have a pretty smart system. As they scan them, they put.
I have
the
always-
precinct, and they put their triad report, that balance term for that day there. So then you have everything already organized by precinct, you have it checked in and logged by your triad check-ins for when you checked in.
Yeah.
And it matches what your OBCS scan session is, and it holds them instead of like a big drawer, it's organized by precinct.
But that locks.
And
Well,
that's
there are
a
two,
DNR.
there are two different, yeah, there are 2 different versions, but one, somebody has a metal one that they kind of have in an area that locks separate to that, and then Union has one that's metal, that's, I mean, it looks like one of those, you know, the filing cabinets you can lift and slide.
Yeah.
The shelves,
Mhm.
it's like that, except they're divided in by the precincts.
So I can get, so we could have 50 slots, because we have 50 precincts, and we could separate the ballot.
And
I will
they
call
kind of
Brady and
finagle
try to
it,
ask
yeah.
him to shoot me a
They
picture of
didn't
that.
come that way, they made
So-
it that way by putting like things.
Divided.
Dividers in it.
Right. So to follow up on what Dennis was saying, so is there a way to store ballots before we open and scan them in that secure area as well? Would we like put a, I mean, that wouldn't have to necessarily, I mean, if it goes in that secure area, it could be in a bin or
Yeah,
something like that, so you can, when they come in the mail, they immediately, or, that day, go into that bin.
So,
mhm.
yeah, and we
Do you
have,
scan them?
yeah, we can get some shelving. that-
Or do you scan every day? I don't know. What do you do?
We try to scan pretty often.
But if you got
Yeah.
Like
thousands
this
of-
time, we didn't, there wasn't enough.
Well, I'm
time.
only interested in the presidential because it's the largest.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
true.
have to have the capability to do the biggest.
Right.
Anything smaller is gonna fit in the space we have.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's just think about this. It comes in the mail, right?
Mhm.
The envelopes show up. I'm talking about the ballot now, not the application. The ballot's here. What's the first thing you do with it after the postal people drop it off?
We
Timestamp it.
All right, and where's that done?
That's done right here.
Then
Or
what's-
if that
Although
was,
we have moved it for the presidential, we moved the timestamper in the back, so.
All right, so they're hauled in the back.
Yeah,
Are they put in anything or are they just kind of,
they're in
Laying
the
on
mail
the
trays already.
they're already in a mail tray? All right. So at that point, you've now stamped them. What's the next thing that happens to them?
when we get the opportunity, we will register, certify them into the system
So
So
they
we will
come out,
open it
they
up.
come out to the,
To one of
to our
To the-
workstations.
to someone to put them into the computer.
Mhm.
And there's a limit to how many you do, right?
No, you can,
Well,
I
I
mean, we
thought
can
there
do as
was a
many as
limit
we can
because
physically.
we spend till 3 o'clock in the morning finding your 210 envelopes that you missed.
you can do as many,
Put in.
what I typically do, depending how many you have, I'll do in groups of 10.
Okay,
And then you do those 10, and then you print off what you certified, you check it again against the envelopes that you have, and you put a red check beside each one.
right.
That you know, and then we rubber band that list on the outside of the envelopes.
And then that would go
And
into
then-
double locked until, or
Yes.
that
Well,
happened.
it
Okay,
goes.
so that would be where we would do the double lock.
Yes.
Well, at that point, at night, it's going in a double lock.
Yes, it
Right,
is.
far away.
You didn't get through all that were
Yeah,
done.
so what?
Yeah.
So there's another group that have not met the computer yet, we'll
Yes.
put it that way.
Yes.
They need to go.
Go in the lock.
They're sitting in a tray, but they need to go in a lot.
They will need to go into a lock as well. And-
All right.
And what we have done thus far is just double lock that room every night. And that satisfied what we needed to do for the Secretary of State.
They were
Now
happy.
they're saying, they
No.
want it behind.
So does that
So unless you're
require-
working on it, it's in the lockbox.
Yes.
You
So does
stamp
that
it,
mean two?
you work on it, or it's in the lockbox.
It's in the
And
lockbox.
lock
Or
area.
it's in that,
Lock
it's
area.
behind the
So,
cage.
okay.
And
So-
everything behind the cage is DNR.
Well, I got that. I got all of that.
I was gonna say, part of the process I might suggest with that too, if you lose envelopes or whatever, when you bring them back and when you bring them from the post office, if you accept them immediately and scan them in, so you've got inventory of them, and you know that they're on site, already scanned in, even if you don't scan them the same day. And if you simply print off, at the end of the day, or if you're not gonna work on them, the inventory from Triad that shows those precincts that are included in there, like you're talking about, that you wrap it around.
Mhm.
That way, you're only having 2 categories that you have to keep track of rather than the 3 of the checked in but not scanned in, or checked in but not scanned to the system, and the ones that you haven't checked in yet. If you make it have when you bring them in and scan them, and then, so that you know they're checked in.
Well, we don't
then print off.
scan them we only scan them when we check them in. Like
Right,
they're not
check them
scanned
in.
extra.
Well, you check them in, right, so that as soon as you get them, you check them in. Timestamp them and check them in.
Yeah,
Because then you can have a Triad that you receive that ballot. and you
Right,
print
that's
off.
received.
It's just kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone from an inventory standpoint. And then when you finally go to scan them in the system, the central scanner, you've got, you're balancing because you've got your printout from that date, wrap around those, and you can scan them, and then you can just make sure that the scanner matches it. So in the end, on election night, if you are, the likelihood of being
Which we
off,
wouldn't be off because
whatever,
we know
yeah,
ahead of
because
time.
it would be done ahead of time, it would be, everything would be inventoried as you're scanning it. Because you're not gonna be able, sometimes you're not gonna be able to scan everything you get in that same day, but then.
Well, and I try to, and I know, we try to get those in because we know people can check their ballot and
Right, and
see
they're wanting
if it's
to
things.
know.
Because we'll get calls, and we did it during the presidential 20. I mean, it's like, yes, we have received it, I have not been able to scan it into the system yet, you know. But we really try to do that on a daily basis because I do know people are really tracking their ballot.
Well, and it helps, yeah.
And
It's not custom,
so, but from,
Right.
what we're going to do now is make sure any ballot at any time, unless they're actually being worked on, is going to be behind the
Okay,
cage.
that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah,
Okay.
but again, I just want to make sure because we're discussing options here.
Mm-hmm,
And I'd like to leave this room with an understanding of what's going to happen.
mm-hmm.
Is that, do we have the scanner that he's talking about?
Yeah.
But it's not a process that we've
It's just the
done
ballot
before.
scanner, it's the
Right.
scanner that scans the ballots.
Well, is it scanning, it's not scanning a ballot, at this point, it's scanning an envelope.
No, we don't have one that scans the envelope.
Yeah, we
You've
don't
got
have,
one, you've got one barcode scanner type thing that checks it into Triad when you get it.
Just a hand,
Yeah, right, I
Well,
believe that's what
we
it is.
usually hand key ours, you just hand key in their application number.
And it checks it into the
and it's received
system.
in.
So Triad's report
But
will
we're
bring
not
out saying the
scanning
ballot
the
was checked.
envelope, it's not taking a picture of the envelope.
Right, and so that report that says you got it from the post office and now they're on-site part of chain of custody in their inventory is, we've received it this day from the post office, it's timestamped this day, it's checked into the system, the dates they all match. You print out that report, you put them with however groups of 10 or whatever,
mhm,
wrap it around, and then you put them back there if you don't get to actually scan them into the system, the ballot scanning. So that when you do that, you've got an inventory list that shows what should be there.
mhm.
And then you scan it in based off that, because in our scanning system, when you put those ballots in, you can do it in whatever groups you want. If you want to have one whole session, or if you need to note stuff on it, like the dates. And then that way at the end, you've got, as you're scanning them, you know everything you've checked in has been matched to that report. And you know, based off that report, how many ballots have been scanned, you can look and see. And then you can separate them into the bigger, once ballot, it's open and scanned, you've got those divided precincts. You put those in, and you could put a piece of paper over those that account for that, because you print it out by precinct, a whole inventory for the day by Triad or by precinct. And then that way, it's on top of where you left off, so there's always an accounting for it. And in the event that you get audited, or have to review stuff, or have, retention stuff, all of that stuff can be saved, when you store. So it's just a double check, so you don't have that searching for 200 ballots, or having an office.
Which is kind of what we've been doing since our problem. with-
Well, and that's what I want to say, since we started this new process of doing them either in groups of whatever and printing out that report, we have not lost one
right, I
since we
know.
started that process.
But I'm just saying, we had this problem of 210 apparently didn't get the second enter push
Yeah,
in
Right.
our system, and so it,
it was
We-
2020.
you're not gonna- it's not
we had to redo all
something-
our,
Yeah,
It just happens.
But,
Okay.
and for security purposes, you're either working on it or it's in a security area.
that's exactly right.
Working on it, security area.
So I will look
And
at
when you get it,
unions.
scan it into the system.
Yeah,
but
if we can't, I mean, if it's like 2020 again, sometimes you just have to timestamp it and put it back there because you're answering the
Until you
phones
can
and
get to
doing,
it.
Yeah, if you buy a scanner, they're like $20. You don't have to.
We have the
Yeah.
barcode scanners,
Yeah, you
I mean,
just-
we have them already.
I just know what people
it's
are.
apparently, what I'm hearing is not part of how they do it. That's why I said I
Yeah.
wanted to know when we walked out of here, what was going to be happening.
I mean, so you're saying, Ryan, that as soon as we get it in,
Receive
because
it
we're,
into Triad.
receive it into Triad,
Because you're like, you want a chain of custody from the moment that you receive that.
so we're opening the outside envelope
Right.
and taking the ID envelope.
You're checking
have
in,
to, yeah.
right, and
So
and
you're
making sure
saying-
you're scanning that you got it.
We can try, I mean,
And the reason
This will be
why
a good test, this is a good
But also,
tutorial one, so,
if you get off somewhere,
yeah,
you have the ability then to go back and check by date, because in essence, the date that stamped that you received it will be the date of the report from Triad that you print, whether or not you actually scan them in the system or not. And then that can be matched, again, whether or not you do it that day or not, to how you scanned it into the system. So you've got to triple check by not doing anything additional,
okay.
just by making sure that you're scanning what you've got the same day.
So we're not certifying the ID envelope, we're just
No, we
saying,
still, no.
Saying we got it.
certify it.
We're just
No,
saying we
can't-
got it.
We can't receive it into Triad unless
Until
we
you
certify
certify
the
it.
ID.
until we certify it, okay.
But-
Because that's when we have to go into the voter's
Right,
record,
and
make sure the
make sure the
signatures match,
signatures match.
make sure the birth, date of birth.
Right.
And that's where these
Yeah.
requests, people are coming in and asking for requests from your voter registration system for check-ins, because they're trying to figure out how long people have ballots before they're checked in, and who has access to them. So that's why I'm trying to get ahead of the curve with people and saying,
Yeah,
like,
we already got it.
All
Make sure
right,
you
so
have-
we need to make a policy that once we need to certify that day. I mean, we need, once we get.
Well, to check them in that day,
check them
to
in.
check them into Triad that day.
Yeah, so you know you've got a record that you received them that day, and it matches the envelope
Okay.
stamp.
Are you guys comfortable with that?
No,
Then?
yeah,
I'm comfortable with it, although I am gonna suggest that if possible, we're going to ask that when we're ready to receive these, perhaps you could either come online or come in person and watch them do it and see if they're doing what you're suggesting.
Yeah,
Because I keep hearing two conversations that don't seem to
I think they're using
me,
different
match
terms.
up.
I think we're talking, yeah.
Certified.
Yeah, my terminology
They're the same thing.
is probably off.
And it's the same thing.
Well,
I mean, it's just
again, I
whatever
just-
you want to
yeah.
call it.
But yes,
So again, what I'm hearing though again is that we're going to have potentially two distinct envelopes with ballots. Those that are in essence ready or done, and those that are in some process or just been received. And so I don't see that you want to be putting them in the same drawer system.
No, they have a separate system for
So
that.
they're,
Yeah.
so we're
Yeah.
gonna need two of those, whatever you decide
Okay.
to buy, not one.
Well,
From
you know,
a scan
Dennis, I wouldn't
standpoint,
think
whether
you-
they're scanned or not, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter, because, you know, even if they're checked in and ready to go, then when they get to the scanner, it doesn't matter, so long as you've got that inventory report that's printed out. So I
Right,
mean,
but I'm guessing that we're gonna want to have our ballot in a locked cabinet.
well, we are, we're,
Yeah, that's what we're
We are.
saying.
By precinct,
Right.
Well, it don't have
because.
to be by
You don't have to be by
precinct.
Not- not before you
Wouldn't it be
scan it
handy
in.
to have it by precinct when Kadeen picks those that we're gonna audit?
well, at the end, after you scan the ballot.
Yeah.
And then
After
dig-
that- well, that's
After you scan, you go in the precinct.
You don't
have to do it pre.
If they don't need
You don't have to do it pre, you just do it after.
You can
Finished product, it seems to me we ought to have by
They do
precinct.
that all
Yeah, no, that's what they were saying.
no, I agree,
Yeah.
I agree. I've always said that because I thought of it like a
And
mini
in fact,
system.
you guys are
We just have-
you're really looking for, when you get pulled for like a hand count, recount or something like that. Because our system, the auditor system that certified by the state to do your risk limiting audits, it doesn't matter if you put it in by precinct. Our scanners don't care either, because you can sort
Because it
and
just counts
filter
them.
based off it anyway. So
Right.
if you put it in any order,
Right.
when you actually do the audit, and you do it by precinct, it's gonna pull all those ballots anyway. But to your point, if you do have to do something where you actually have to touch and grab the ballots.
Yeah, you have
by
to
precinct.
hand count.
Yeah,
Or at the end for retention purposes, if somebody, you know,
Comes and
is
asks for it.
double checking to make sure,
These requests.
yeah, or requests that we have.
Which
That's
means
after.
that we would be storing, then would we store our on-site early voters in the same cabinet?
No, they would stay in their base. They would stay in the base that the scanner's sitting on top of.
Right.
and then we take that and it goes on the cage
Right.
every
Every
night.
night until after the
And you'll
election is
have,
over.
the cage will have room for those devices.
But they'll be in the double lock cage in the back, not in the
Oh,
IT.
okay.
Yeah, it's the double lock cage in the
All
back.
right,
Yeah.
Our cages and our locks and our double locks. But
all
yeah,
right.
yeah,
And then
we
the
take
only
that.
sorting we do is
Happens.
after.
After
So
the
those
election.
wouldn't be done yet.
When it's all set.
till after
Yeah.
election.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we want to keep those separate.
Because we even keep those in there, on election night, we take out just the TM of the OVO and give it to RBM.
Right,
So we don't even pull those ballots out until we're doing the auditing.
right, okay, all right. I've asked enough questions, so we're done about time.
Then you have a copy of the employee sick time.
Yeah.
Right,
And did you have the results?
All right, so we got our start. This is gonna be, from
This was from
election night. Yep, so showing where we started. And then we have an additional, looks like, of 19 ballots, so that'll be 16 provisional plus 3 absentee.
That's
So that
correct.
is the official canvas there. And then this is gonna be the group detail report, and this is what the Secretary of State looks for. So what we're looking at is the turnout here, all the way down to the last page. It's gonna split it up by type of vote. And that's where you're gonna notice absentee, it'll say 6 provisional, and it'll give you your totals, and that will match that. And then if anybody's interested, this is gonna be the turnout by party and by precinct and person. And then your other suite of reports for,
Yeah, whatever.
Secretary's
What
office.
were we statewide, 8%,
You know, I don't even know.
4%, I think.
4%?
Oh, so we beat the
Oh,
state.
maybe not, I don't know.
We beat the state, we're 4.93. We almost did Yes, it does, doesn't it?
And then after we certify these, I'll have to get reports for you guys to sign, so
Okay.
don't,
and do we have to sign one of those, or
so
just your report?
just the reports. Well, I'll have a signature
Yeah,
report that
it's all
we'll
the same.
do, and then one for each, levy that was on.
Right.
That I'll have to make up.
And you have your, who's your only overlaps after 94?
94th is what we have to certify, today. We have to certify to Belmont.
So who was our best precinct turnout? It was Marietta 3A.
94.
We're ahead for the
What's
95th.
3A?
So we have to wait, we can't certify 96 today
No, 3A.
because we have to wait for Belmont County.
But your overlap, where you're not the most populous is one of
It's the 94th and the State Central Committee for the 30th.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not.
So what's
Speaking of the 94th, my understanding is that the parties, the Democratic parties in the 94th met by Sunday to certify, if you don't know, Ryan Goodman has dropped out of the 94th race. And he brought that to Athens, which is the most populous county, last Monday or Tuesday.
Approval to sign.
And the Democratic parties in each of the counties have a candidate. And my understanding is that Athens, as the most populous, is the only one that needs to certify that candidate. So I don't think you guys have to do anything, but they're meeting
What's
today
today?
to certify that candidate and put that candidate's name on the ballot. Now, if it's a tie vote, which it could be, then it goes to the Secretary of State.
So is it?
So are we down to this now?
Is it a new request?
Yes, that just came in yesterday. Now, there's part of it, like, I think it's at least number 1,
It's
I
different.
have to look at it. That's not something we track.
Yeah.
Some of it's, not anything that we.
I was gonna ask, how many of these 8 things do we actually track?
Number 4, we don't track Dropbox usage.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, every board, Brian Sleeth, is that his last name, our OEA president?
I think so.
He's from Hamilton County. I heard him on Ohio News Network saying that, speaking on behalf of the association, saying that each county is receiving these, that it's really difficult for some of the counties to come up with as much as with what
We can
they're
answer
requesting,
for.
because obviously we don't have to
We don't
request
know.
It's 100%,
records that we don't already
Not
keep.
100% of our ballots.
So-
Yeah, we don't track, we don't have it.
Yeah,
but it's 100% that we use that as our
I mean,
Dropbox.
we use it as.
Because it's
a
the
Dropbox.
only
It's the
one.
only one. I mean-
Yeah, so I suppose you could say 100%.
Percentage is
100%.
100%.
Dropbox
Not
usage
estimate
rate.
of the total voter, as I
Yeah.
read it, it's
Well,
the,
okay,
it's the
you're
each
right,
box.
you're right, Dennis, that's 100%.
100%.
Yeah,
Well, we don't track like denial rates.
Right,
although we don't have a record of that, Dennis. Well, you'd have to say, we don't track that, however, we only have one box, so it's 100%.
That's what we.
And that's what you have to say,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, the ones like 2 and 3 there, when they're asking about denial rates, I mean, we don't calculate like a percentage that are denied. Now, we can pull a report that would say how many, if there's something wrong with the registration, it's missing information, like say they didn't sign the voter registration.
Well, you'd be
The
happy.
way you would get a
We have-
denial rate, if I read it correctly, is if you had 100 that, in this second one here,
Right. that were
if you had
denied.
100 of one particular kind and you denied 10,
Yeah,
it'd be
And
10%.
you don't have a, I don't, you don't.
which that's something, I mean.
Do we know those numbers?
We can pull the numbers and they can do the calculations themselves, because that's not something we have.
You wouldn't do the
We don't
math.
have to make.
We don't have
Yeah, so you could say,
Report.
we had this many paper voter
Right.
registrations and we
this
denied
is
this
how
many.
If it's
Right,
not
and
something
it's
we
your-
already
and they can
do,
calculate that
track as a
themselves.
report,
Right.
we don't have to make it up.
Right.
Right,
You can give them the raw data.
yeah, give them the data, they can do whatever they want with it.
Yeah, well, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah,
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, if you have to try and guess or discern the intention of what they're asking for,
right.
it's not clear enough for a records request.
And we don't have to answer questions. We just provide the data to them.
Well, like number 5,
I mean, that's like an answer to a question.
Well, I think we have a procedure. I needed to look. I hadn't had a chance to yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we had some printed procedure.
So we just tell them how we do it, you just tell them how you do it.
Well, we just provide the procedure.
I look at it,
Yeah.
I look
It
at
might be in
it, I
the
look at
manual.
it. If I have a
Yeah,
question,
like
I
it's
take
in
it
our-
to
So
Mandy
just
and
copy
to
that
Emily as a
paragraph.
Republican, ask them to look at it, and we come up with a
Yeah,
conclusion.
but it has to be documented, so if you have that written somewhere, that's what you provide them.
Yeah,
If
you,
we don't have it written, then
We don't have it
It's not a-
written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it, number 5 is a little vague because consolidated from what? When I came on the board and there were
oh, you mean number 6, you mean number 6.
Yeah.
The number,
we're now down to 50? I mean, what consolidation?
Yeah, I mean, you can.
They said
from if they
polling
work
places,
18.
like when we put everybody at Lighthouse or,
when did you change all of that?
That's what I'd have to check, what years we.
It was done before I came on board.
Well, it seems to me in 2018 and 20, the answer potentially is none.
I would say, I don't think we did.
because it was already done before 18.
Right.
Because it was done before 18.
Right.
It
That's
was,
the
Yeah.
only thing you can, I mean, that's the only way to read that you can give an answer.
That's right.
Otherwise, are you
If we
going back to
consolidated
the
prior to 18, it doesn't-
1700
the
or
answer is not.
1800 or 1900?
Right,
Now, number 8, I mean, that is something we maintain, is a list of the people who were deleted.
Yes.
So I mean, that's easy to know.
Yeah.
is that what they mean by a supplemental voter?
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's people that were deleted as part of that.
And then you had to
Assigned to each.
keep them available.
All right, and
So
so
7 is the same. then.
potentially the answer to 7 would be 0.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because we didn't consolidate in 18 or 20, we just consolidated in
I think it was
16
16 or
or 17
17.
or something.
Well, we didn't consolidate, but is it possible, Charlie, in 18 that we moved to Pawpaw?
But if you,
I'd probably be close to it, yes.
But that's
Because
not a
we were out on
No, but it's a
South Road,
location, it
and we
says.
didn't consolidate when we did that.
the
Right?
number of,
No,
oh, and location, that's right.
That work is.
That were consolidated, so
If
the
you just
answer would
move
be,
someone.
if they just moved a place, but not
Right.
a
we didn't
consolidation.
change,
doesn't
we didn't
count.
change who's
Then-
voting.
Well, there you go, well, then the answer was 0 then, that's right.
We just moved location.
So that's just a 0.
Right,
Still 0 for both 6 and 7.
we did consolidate or move location. We moved location of Devola in 18
I think probably down to the fair.
to the fairgrounds.
But if you
We'd have to look. I'm just looking at.
That would be a consolidation.
Yeah.
That would be a
It
consolidation.
seemed to me, did we move people into Lighthouse in 18?
I'm just gonna have to look it up.
Well,
Yeah.
listen, we did,
We'd have to go back
when did we move Palmer?
I think we're gonna have to go back and look at
In the
our,
maps.
probably the
Indicator.
election in 15 or 17,
Right.
17 to go to 18, to see if we did in fact
The reason I say this, I think
I'm
you
gonna
did
take
it
the remote.
possibly in 18 or 19, because I came on January 2020. Lowell was at one of our very first meetings, still complaining that they lost their location, voting location.
So maybe it changed.
So maybe the first location, the first consolidated was that November of 19. Because that's when we in Beverly were down at the firehouse, and that was the problem with all the paper. Some people from Lowell got to Beverly,
Yeah,
you
well,
know.
I know Beverly was a firehouse, so that's another.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
So-
go ahead and go get, working
Yeah,
on our
go
reports.
ahead.
You guys-
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that, I think it may have been 18 when you moved Decatur over to.
I've been,
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that I can remember going down and voting at the,
2 weeks of this right
the old Cutler School. And I'm pretty sure that
They
was.
wanted it.
I also wanted to ask if the board could go in executive session. We have a personnel
This was gonna be more than
I'd like to talk to you about real quick.
Yes.
I'll move
Yeah.
to go into executive
Yeah,
session.
Okay, Robin?
second,
Make sure you turn that off.
I will.
And the
Exact
TV.
Yeah.
I'm happy to help people out.
Stop.
but-
Okay. And I'm going to.
Can you just stop video and,
I mean,
I
if this is
think-
gonna become the norm.
stop video and
I
mute?
did mention to the county commissioners,
They're getting them too.
we're going to have to hire two new people.
I
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
we'll see. but-
And
It's
then
like
we're gonna have to
releasing
find,
information in Hudson.
then we're gonna find a place to sit them.
Yeah, it's a full-time job in the medical.
Still on it,
Request. You know, that's what's funny to me, is you can't go into a hospital and request your medical records and just say, I want everything. Like, they require you to give dates and the types of reports you want and that sort of thing, and there's an expiration on it, like, I find it interesting that some of the stuff is you can't really, like, it's like, I wish people would just be like, we want to know this specifically. Like, if you just tell us what you're looking for, then we could provide that, but I know what they're trying to do with some of these.
Fishing.
Right for us from the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was,
What'd you say?
Dennis likes to say, right church, wrong pew.
Oh, yeah. It's a right for us from tree. They're getting close. Some of these are getting a little more specific to, I mean, some of this data is just too much, that I don't think they're trained enough to even understand what
No, they don't.
it means.
Well, I can't wait until you give us a number for that other public request, public
Well,
records
that's- well,
request
that's-
of what it's gonna cost them.
$153,000 if we do it through auditor, it's 40 seconds a page.
Awesome.
I mean, seriously, it's 40 seconds a page times what, 50-some thousand dollars for the two elections, maybe more.
Yeah,
At 7.5 hours a day, it comes to like 88 days times $1,700 daily rate is 150 some thousand. But that's if you want the actual ballot and it's marked, it shows all of the information as it was accepted by tabulator. It's the creme de la creme of what you want to provide. It'd be like similar to when you're getting things together for discovery for a case, you're gonna go through and you're gonna mark that evidence. And you're gonna show like this page of one of whatever. And it has everything marked, it shows the dates, it shows it's processed through, and you keep track of it to show that you're compliant with the request. The other option is we can extract these ballots from the system and remove Unison's proprietary information off of it. But it's gonna give a ballot sequence number, and it's gonna say F for the front or B for the back, and you can throw it on a thumb drive. Otherwise, you're gonna have to go through and match the fronts and the backs, and consolidate that into some other reports. The other option some counties are doing is, they've got a couple quotes of, Unions yesterday was 18,000 for one, and another one was 23,000, where they have a company that comes in and scans all of your ballots. And then they put it on a hosting site, not unlike, what code calls for if you're not providing the records themselves, where they have to be able to review it. They get a login, and they can review it perpetually. They can't print it, and they can't take screenshots of it, similar to like your phone and your banking app. If you try to take a picture, they'll say like it's not allowed. But they can take pictures of their phone, I guess. But, and it hosts that, and then you pay that hosting fee, and they can go through and review all that documentation as it's scanned on.
are they seriously considering that?
Well, I mean, it's an option what they have. But that's.
And they're paying for it, or they're gonna charge the public record requester?
Anytime there's 10,001 pieces of documents and of public records requests, the county can hire an outside firm to complete that at the expense of the requester. If that happens, I would request that, my advice was to say, hey, this needs to be, this estimate is not final, it could become more, and it's put into a trust account and collected beforehand.
Right,
To make sure
we're
that
not doing
everything's-
nothing without money, yeah. Money up front,
I don't
baby.
think people are gonna pay this, I mean, you take that
Right.
estimate, Union County is what, it's very similar, actually very similar to Washington. So if your estimate is 25,000, and let's say that's even just the median times, 88 counties, you're talking a lot of money. But-
Yeah, and then Columbus and,
And that's the other thing, is some of this stuff, it's like, okay, well, you've got ballots that are spoiled ballots. You've got ballots that are remakes. You've got ballots that have been destroyed that can no longer be scanned by the scanner, and they've already gone through. And everything's already been canvassed and gone through on the system. What if, you're missing 5 ballots on that ballot retention stuff? And now they're gonna get copies of ballots, and they're gonna sit there and probably spend a million years trying to hand count, which is terrible. People are off no matter how many times they do it. And they're gonna be off compared to reports. So that's why you say that the creme de la creme is what was actually scanned by the system that is compared to your canvas and what you had on hand and logged through your early vote and your election day stuff. And it's marked automatically in the system. But that creme de la creme is $150-some thousand.
well, so that's what we should tell them.
That's what I
No,
say, that's what I
absolutely, that's what we
say.
should tell them.
That's what we tell
Say,
them.
you want the ballots, guess what? This is what it's gonna cost.
Yeah.
Or you have them all scanned the best you can. So you were saying something earlier that resonated with me, that I wish somebody else would say it sometimes. Sometimes you provide data, and it's information that they use as pretext, or they try to fix something with that data that's not correct because they don't have it in the context. So as an example would be the Maricopa County audit in Arizona, where they said that 10,000 voter records were added at the end of the election. Well, that stuff is all added, whether it was provisional, people that had address changes, all this stuff. And when you're talking about a company or a county of well over 1 million voters, 10,000 is the norm. It doesn't get updated as it goes. They update that and provide that record at the end through the.
Well, that's like the people with the address changes that we just did, that's gonna be an update.
Right.
And so that'll,
Everyone knows, so you
right,
have 10,000 records, you're
right.
making it sound, they're saying 10,000 records were added. Sure, because the term that they use is a record. Every time you do a name change or, a provisional ballot or a check-in or whatever the case may be, that's not a greenlit voter, somebody that just goes through the process, checks and gets their ballot and scans it, it counts as a record.
A record.
So if that's
You're making a
updated,
change.
they're not wrong. They're not wrong. By saying that 10,000 records were added, they're absolutely right.
But was within the legal limits of the law, because they were doing what they were supposed to do. We're
Same with-
recording the updates from people's address change, name change.
The 84,000
Yeah,
absentee voters that were counted, that they said in the scope of the audit, they did not find the mail requests. Well, just like Ohio, Arizona counts those as absentee.
Oh, when you
Even if it's voting in
walk in.
person, when you
Yes.
certify the Secretary of State, they make no distinction between early voting
yeah.
and
Right.
absentee, it's all one number.
Right.
So can you guess how many people voted in person absentee in Maricopa County?
84,000.
84,000, yeah, so like there wouldn't be a mail request, but again, you give people too much information and they don't understand the context, how it plays with this particular jurisdiction.
And Ryan, I have a question on that. Why can't our system, when we open up the freedom votes every day, because I always have to say absentee, not early voting, right? Why don't we take out early voting off of those freedom votes?
Because some states do separate it, Indiana is one of them.
Oh,
And they can't make them special.
Yeah, it's jurisdiction.
Separates it too.
And you can just turn off that if you want. Press the, hold the keypad and turn off. And you have your logs that show where you ended on your public count. You just have to make sure at the end you go through and check it so it's a continuous setting. The Secretary of State has approved both ways.
okay.
I like the way you're doing, and Indiana has also accepted that, but my counties in Indiana don't want to do it that way. I like having to start and stop every day with a report. They wanted a continuous where they turn off the machine and it just keeps rolling through the early vote period until the end.
Yeah.
That's their call, but both are acceptable. I like the way you.
I like having them off completely, I know nobody's gonna be doing anything.
Absolutely, that's what I like.
Yeah.
And you've got an official report that shows
Each day.
0 at the beginning of the day and however many you had at the end of the day, and so on and so forth, and you can match with check-ins better and repulse.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, real quick before Mandy starts on hers, I don't, try and.
Did we turn the report on?
Yeah, it's off.
It's
I'm
on.
gonna get your stuff ready for the Secretary of State certification.
Okay, yeah, if you wanna go ahead.
And let me know if you need me.
As you know, I'm going through a lot with my mother-in-law, and we are probably looking at a hospice situation sooner rather than later. With that, if it's hospice, she would like to be at home. And my husband's an only child, you know. I am asking if allowed, because I don't have as much time as what my coworkers do, if I could take like a leave of absence. I don't know, it may start today, it may be tomorrow. I can work as much as I can, you know, remotely. I can still do the poll worker recruitment, I can make sure all of that's done, I can work on, you know, the campaign about moving the polling locations. I'm just saying, I'm not sure that I will be able to say I'm in here every day. So,
When you had, explain your leave of absence, what.
well, the only thing and that would, if I could, I mean, if you want me to use my time up front, and I can do the FMLA, because that gives me 12 weeks, I can do that. I'd rather not, because once she goes, I still have a 94-year-old father-in-law that I will probably need to assist as much as well. It's not the salary, I mean, obviously, I
So when
can do
you-
it a little bit, but I need the health insurance. We need the health insurance, so I need to talk with Diane, our HR person, to find out. I don't know if that's a minimum of 20 hours a week that I would have to work to be able to maintain my
That's
health
what, yeah, I don't
insurance.
know what they, I don't.
And like I say, you know, this may, I may not have to do this for a while. I mean, but right now we're at the mercy of Medicare because we're trying to get her into skilled nursing because I want to see what Medicare does for her first before we say hospice. Because the last thing she said to Jay is don't break the bank on us, on me. Meaning she's saved a little bit and she does have a trust. I mean, we could go the Medicaid route, and we have an attorney working on that, but by the time you tell me how long does Medicaid take to get approved,
It's not very long, really.
Yeah.
You got all the right, you got the documents.
so,
They tell you
you know,
right away.
I just want you to consider that, you know, like I say, I will still work, I can do, you know, if I could get the laptop, and Joseph has already told me that he could put VPN on it. They do have internet at their home, because if we do bring her home, that's where she'll be,
Where is home?
Shady Side, Ohio, in Belknap County. So I don't know if you guys want to discuss it without the Amanda here or whatever.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what you're saying. So you want to be able to work from Shady Side, however many hours you can work from home, you would do that. And the rest would be unpaid leave so that you protect your other leave? Is that what you're saying? Assuming that that's,
I would like that,
Okay.
but if you want me to use up all my leave, I mean, we have it right here,
Yeah,
you know?
I just pulled that from yesterday.
And like I say, I don't know, you know, in my honest opinion, because I went through it with my own parents, I don't think she has 30 days, but I don't know when, you know. And I know we've got a lot going on, and this is not not a good time for any of us to be gone, but I just know that may become an issue. So.
Well, I think my feelings is we'll work with you as much as we can.
Okay,
That's like, I mean, I think we can work things out.
okay.
I mean,
Well, I just wanted, because I don't want to leave these three catching, you know, like taking up the slack.
well, she didn't wait until after the election.
Seriously. Well, and the fact that I don't have to pay for a trip to Hilton Head
What's that?
too over
This
Labor
is
Day
what it
weekend.
was on the last report.
Oh,
What's that last?
If I could, if she, I know I could do respite care for that, if she is
So this
on.
was.
So if you're on this
is all of
39
this available?
Yeah,
Yeah, those are,
so,
Could
you know,
all be
I don't
taken.
know if it's something,
yeah, could be.
but like I said, we got a lot on our plate, but I can do a lot
Exactly.
off-site.
Talk about this without you two.
Yeah,
We can,
Yeah, we're actually gonna go into executive session, so.
Okay.
if
It's
that-
already-
We're already in.
We're already in.
Oh, we-
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I turned everything
Oh,
off,
it's
so.
on.
Yeah.
We're already in.
Yeah.
Very good.
so, all right.
Well, a lot of times coworkers will, you know, donate time and the
Right.
others have a hell of a lot more time than Karen.
Right.
I mean, that is the point of having sick days
Do you,
and such.
do you have a
The current
policy where
is the
you're allowed to
current.
do that? I mean, our program, that's what our program has, but we have a policy that allows for that.
We do too at
Yeah.
my office, but I don't, we have to ask the auditor if he's okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, that would,
Okay,
you
with
probably have
what?
to create a policy
With other,
to be able to
if the
donate,
other employees
could
would like
donate
to
time.
donate
Well,
some of their time.
didn't we do that for Carolyn Barnes, or Carolyn,
Walker,
Walker? Her name,
What?
maiden name was Barnes, that's why I said that. Carolyn Walker, didn't they do that for her?
I thought we did.
Yes.
Donate time,
Mm-hmm,
okay.
mm-hmm.
Well, that would be one thing.
I think the only issue I have is that we have to have some notion of, there has to be a cutoff. There has to be something, because unfortunately, we're an office of 4 people.
Right, so you don't have a
It's
lot of,
So what
There's not a lot of stretch, yeah.
what it says potentially to Melissa is, you can't get sick,
right,
you can't get anything, and/or we need to have people that we're either paying or we need to find people that we could
Can
call
step
in when
in.
Melissa
Melissa
wakes
can't.
up and she's sicker than a dog.
right.
And potentially, we're in the middle of election cycles where they're not gonna get into a room. Unless, again, maybe a board member shows up and
Oh,
is willing to, sit around the day or
Yeah.
do something. So I think we need,
okay.
one, to clear up
Can I
the
call you,
Walker
can
thing. And the
I, we
other
have to talk
thing
right
is
now, or can I call you
that
back?
our policy ought to be
Yeah,
subject
about
to
maybe
review by the
15, 20
board
minutes.
or something.
Okay.
Because I don't know that we can say, well, this is good for 30 days. After 30 days, you're either here or you're gone.
What, I want to, I guess reiterate that the point of having sick time is that that's what this is for.
Right.
So to me, you have to use that up first before you ask for a special allowance, a special arrangement, because that's what it's for.
Right.
So she doesn't have much.
Actually, our policy was always, you have to use a sick and vacation before you can get
Mhm.
a donated.
And here we
Oh,
have
before
comp
you-
time.
Yes, because you cannot get donated and preserve
Your
your sick and
own.
Yeah,
vacation
I
time.
agree. Actually, that's true. That's
So
true.
if we're gonna ask anybody to donate, she first has to use up all of
I
that.
think she
I'm not
has to
asking anybody to
use-
donate until that's gone.
Right.
Well, and that's up to them if they want to donate
Right,
at all.
right.
But I do think that that's why you have these things. Certainly sick time and then vacation time is, those are.
I think it makes no sense to allow her to, I mean, I know it sounds crass or mean, but I think you should have to use up,
Both categories.
yeah,
And then,
before you can take time off without pay
well, before you then ask coworkers
or.
for donated time.
Well, now we also have comp flex. There are three categories.
How does that work?
Well, that's the failure to pay overtime.
Right. Well, she can use all that, so, she can use all that.
So really there are
So
three categories.
So her category, so if you add them all.
And it's the red ones that count. The
Right.
black was the last report.
Previous.
So, you've got,
Yeah, I don't think you get to
She's-
ask for leave.
She's got almost 20 days.
And that mean, like you said, that may
That's
get
4
us
weeks right
through.
there. That's 4 weeks right there.
Yeah, I was calculating, it's pretty close
Yeah, that's
to,
close to 20
you know,
days. So
close
that's-
to,
Well, and you accrue, you know, as long as she's being paid, wouldn't she continue to accrue? So yeah, she'll have 20 days.
yeah,
That'd give her 4 weeks.
right.
I mean, you know, well, and then she's not gonna necessarily be off the entire time if she's allowed, and I don't have, you know, there might have been a time a few years ago where I said, no, you can't work from home, but, I mean, now everybody's working from home, I think, I mean, as long as we have specific things that she's doing, and we can document.
Better
My
really,
question is, if she's working at home and she's taking care of her mother-in-law, how's she gonna be working?
But you know the way that
Right.
goes,
That's the thing
yeah.
with working from home.
yeah, it's hard
A lot
to
of
justify it,
You just
but
have
I
to
can
have-
see her organizing the
Right.
poll workers
Right.
is a telephone operation. Doesn't have to be in here for that.
Right,
Scheduling and getting them ready for training and so forth,
right,
but
updating the website, you know, because you can do, you know, I mean, I know with my mom, you know, in May, when I was dealing with my mom's dying process, you know, you're really intense for maybe an hour, and then you're doing nothing for 2 hours, and then you're intense for an hour, and then you're doing nothing for 2 hours. And there's somebody else who's in there, I mean, she's not gonna be alone, Jay's
Well,
gonna
that's
be
what I
in
was
there,
gonna
so.
ask, does Jay work? Does
No,
he
he's
still work?
retired,
Right.
he retired last year, so I'm sure that they'll be tag teaming, I mean, that's what.
and I'm assuming there's gonna be some hospice if they're doing that. There's
There'll be
going
people
to be
coming in.
some help coming, with people coming in. I'm just saying, if she needed to come in for 4 hours between a husband and people coming in,
That's true.
she ought to be able to make it in
So
for a 4
we
hour
could
stint,
maybe talk about, well, you know, yeah,
you know.
We just need to set out clear expectations and have her document so that we can, because we're a public body.
that's
you
right,
know,
we can
We can
verify.
then say, look, she did this and this and this
Right.
and this, for which she,
We have
you
documented,
know, she was
Right.
paid
output,
appropriately.
documented
So,
output.
yeah.
And
Exactly.
the other thing I wanted to hear about, I was gonna mention anyway, is I'd like to see where we are in our budget process. Because it could well be that, again, do we have enough money in our budgets and so forth to bring on an extra person periodically? Especially if this thing extends into the
If it
election
drags out.
cycle,
Close to-
et cetera, we're gonna want, you know, you just need, unfortunately, as they point out, this business about receiving these ballots and so forth is, well, I gotta stop and go
It's time
Well,
consuming.
here's,
work at the counter, I gotta do this, I gotta do
her
that.
20, if she uses up her, if we say you have to use up her time, that's 20 days, that takes you to mid-September or late
Then we can
September.
reassess.
Then she's without pay, then we're saving the money and we can pay somebody to come in.
Yeah.
Because she would be out of time and no pay, so we
Well,
bring people in.
yeah,
But
or
at that point, we can have them,
if someone wants to donate, they can donate.
Yeah, but we're not paying her. Oh,
Well, they wouldn't be
Well, unless they
donating
donate.
time.
if we can do that.
She wants to keep her health insurance, so they need to find out how many hours she has to work
To keep it.
Keep
to be able to keep it. And then we need to make sure that she is actually doing, whether it's physically or there, whatever, documented
Right.
with, you know, specific output that's quantifiable,
Right.
trackable.
And
You know,
I'm
when I took
assuming
leave of
the
absence-
utilization of this will be considered employment for purposes of her insurance,
Right.
our 3 categories.
Hmm.
So we got sort of 20 days that if she's able to work within that, that's gonna splice out to 30 or 40 days. And at that point, there may be you know, the end may have occurred.
Well, I think we tell her that she's gotta use these, but that gives her and us 4 weeks. And at that point, we can reassess, because we may not
But we'll
need to
continue to
do
work with her.
anything.
well, and right now, she doesn't know when she's gonna need to do it.
Yeah, when it even starts.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
That and that any work from home has to be
Documented some way.
documented,
Right.
quantified, whatever, and they need to find out how many hours she needs to work to keep her insurance.
Well, that'll give her
This is-
time to do that, to figure
Yes.
that out.
If she goes beyond the 20 days, we'll need to know how many hours she has to
Right,
work for when she's gone without pay.
because again, this could be a recurring theme,
Well, like she said, she's
Certainly.
got then a father-in-law.
right? And then, but I'm thinking Emily, Mandy, Melissa, family members.
Best to
So
have a
we're doing it for one, we'd be
policy.
doing it for all.
Consistent.
And again, we're for, so that's why I think we have to have this sort of ongoing view of, yes, sort of as Charlie put it, we'll work with you, but it's just not a carte blanche, this is what we're doing.
So number one, use up the hours she has
Right.
before she asks for
Gifts or whatever.
contributed hours.
Contributed things.
So then.
Well, even before she goes without pay, because I mean, if she goes without pay before she uses that up, then conceivably, she could be without pay for 2 months and then be gone, and
She
then
can't.
have another 20 days.
She
She
can't.
can't. I don't think she can.
That's not-
I think you have to
I
use it
think
up.
the county rules are, you've got
Yeah,
to
you have
use
to
all
use it
that up before you get to FMLA.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You're right, I know that's true, that is correct,
Yeah, you can't, that's not
yeah,
not appropriate.
Right.
You can't just save
Right.
that up.
so she have to use it up.
So use it up first, and only then can she ask for contributions.
Right.
Work from home, documented.
And how are we gonna figure out whether or not we can even get contributions? Who answers that? The
Well,
auditor?
they may know from past practice, but if not, the auditor. Work from home,
I
Because
just know we had to have a
think
policy to
the
do
gifting
that.
can come from anywhere.
That's true, anybody in the county.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we always would do, an email blast would go around the program, say, does anybody want to donate? And I always had.
Is there a limit?
6 times I always gave
You
some.
get donated time.
No, right, that's right.
no idea.
Does the county have a policy for that?
They're gonna have to find that.
Yeah,
Right.
that's their
To
job.
find that
That's their
out.
job to find that out.
So I have, use up her hours before she can ask for contributions. She's gotta find out limits.
Yeah.
Any work from home has to be
Documented.
documented. And that's just for the office's protection as
Right.
well. And then how many hours does she need to work to keep
To
insurance?
continue with insurance
Anything else?
during the non-pay time. I think that makes sense. And then we'll evaluate it heck, when are we meeting?
So that, we said that's 20 days? Is that 20 days?
Well, we can talk about it on the 29th.
No, I just noticed the hours.
Oh, yeah, it's 153.4, which is a little shy of 20
About
days.
20
But she'll be
days.
accruing more, so she's gonna have 20 days approximately.
So at least.
And we'll just, we can evaluate it each
At
time,
that.
because we're meeting again on,
We're meeting at the end of the month, that's
Right.
2 weeks,
right,
so she may not start this period until next week, and then she's got
Right.
more
More.
time.
Yeah, we're gonna meet on the 23rd and the 29th, so there's 2 meetings in 2 weeks. So, 1 week from today almost, and a week later, so it'll give us
Yeah.
time to see what is going to transpire, and then they can find out the answer to these questions by that time.
okay, are we ready?
I think we need to also tell her that we're looking at this in reference to what is required for us in terms of you using the time.
Right.
I'll get her in, or I'll get her.
I have to say, listening
I'm not really that surprised.
Said I needed to drink and my drink was empty.
Come back in?
Yeah.
Oh, do we get a turn? Yeah, go ahead.
For that, or do we talk first and then come?
No,
back?
you have to,
Okay.
anything you do, man.
All right.
I think just hit record.
I thought
And it should say
employees,
right on.
okay.
Yep, or no, it's on stop. There we go.
Yeah,
We're on.
we're back out of executive session. It's roughly 10:45.
You need a motion for that?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, no.
I'll make a motion that we come out of executive session at 10:45.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, pass it. The board, well, we're all back together, plus our director and deputy director are present. We may have folks visiting us by Zoom, but no one else in the room. We've had a chance to discuss this and sort of to quote Charlie, we're going to work with you on it.
Well, the request was not on the record, so you want to
Oh,
explain?
I guess it hasn't.
Okay, yes, I was requesting a leave of absence. Not a specific amount of time at this point because I am caring for my mother-in-law who will probably be in hospice within the next 5 to 10 days. If she has to be at home, then I would like to be able to care for her and be on a leave of absence. I am willing to work up to 20 hours a week, need be. If it wants to be, if you guys have chosen to make it without pay, that's fine. If you want me to use my time that I have, that's fine as well.
So I understand, there is a possibility that she would go to skilled nursing,
Yes.
in which case you wouldn't necessarily have to be down there.
No, I would not. I would not as much. I could probably live within the lead that I have if she's there. I won't have to be there daily.
So this is for if she has to stay home.
If she has to stay home and she is at the end of life.
Well, we sort of searched our common recollection and the two oldest and longest serving members. Remember that we had a clerk in the past, and you may have been working at that time.
Carolyn.
And,
Yeah, I was working there.
and so we have a policy of working things out. Our policy or our understanding is that you would have to use sick, vacation, comp flex first.
Okay.
When you get to the end of it, we're requesting that you check into is gifting of sick, vacation, comp time a possibility. That is, the other folks within the county government that have this would gift you,
Right, give you time.
give you time. But our understanding is before that occurs, you have to be empty. You know, you can't ask for a gift,
Exactly.
preserve your 2 weeks in the Bahamas.
And if there are any limits to contribution, is there
Right.
a maximum number of
Right.
hours you
I
can
think
give?
there is,
Is there a policy on this?
the county has a policy.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
that's perfect.
so that's-
I was thinking-
So whatever that is.
But I don't know what it is.
Right.
That's- Yeah.
Yeah, so we have to look at that.
You will have
So
to.
we work with that. The other thing that we need for you to look at, or you could advise us now, our budgetary status. Because if we're at a position, because with only 4, we put certainly our remaining clerk in a position where she cannot get sick.
Right, or take.
She can't do
time.
anything.
Right.
And so we have an option for that, and so just to make sure that we have some budgetary leeway, I'm thinking we did because I was thinking that the poll worker amount was not as much as we might have forecasted. And so we may have money that we can move
Yeah, I
about
think we have some extra.
to have our some folks coming in and so forth. So we think that would be good to get, to know about that so we can be assured that again, we could probably have a, if need be, if available, I guess in our case, it'd be a D from the board coming in, because you can't get into a double lock situation if you don't have one of each.
Yeah.
And so we'll just have to work on all of those things, and so we're gonna work with it. I don't know, Kadeen, you took some notes and so forth.
To the extent there's an opportunity for you to work from home or from over there, it has to be quantifiable for the protection of the public
Exactly.
office. So, we don't know what you've done,
Time
how you
log,
took, all those
products,
things.
yeah.
Anything that is tangible that you can report.
Right, you
has
wanna
to be
keep
done.
track of your
Okay,
hours.
exactly,
something.
exactly.
But if you're using your phone and so forth,
All of it, just
Yeah.
all
log
of
it
that
in.
would be very helpful.
Okay,
And
all right.
then, the last point was, find out how many hours you would have to work to be able to maintain your
Okay.
insurance. So that we know and you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe as long as she's, still on payroll, I mean, if we're still,
Well,
paying.
Well, if people are donating, it's
Yeah.
not a problem.
Yeah.
Right, if they're not
We
donating.
understood, but we wanted to make sure about that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
and
if it
when
gets
we
to
have to
that
go
point.
beyond
And to be
that.
honest, I would feel more comfortable as a former HR professional to have an FMLA on file. I know that we haven't talked about that here, but I think I'm sure the county has something, and I think that I need to have that on file for us as well.
Hey, what?
What do you mean?
Family
Medical leave act, but you would have to still,
You have to use
you still have to use all your stuff.
Yeah, but I know when most agencies, companies have you fill out the application for FMLA, that you have to have her treating sources sign off saying, yes, she is caring for her mother-in-law, just because you're only guaranteed 12 weeks.
Do you want
So,
it on file even before?
well, I just think for our case, I'm gonna talk to Diane about that to find out what the procedures are.
So
Yeah, that's
ready
fine.
to go.
Just to cover all of us here.
But we're meeting again, in 2
we're
weeks,
meeting,
so.
yeah, we're meeting a
We
lot.
have 2 more meetings in the next couple of weeks, so.
Exactly.
Yeah, you
So
can-
I'll
As
have
you said, if
It
it's
may
not
not even-
tomorrow, it may be next week, so
Exactly, okay,
we have some flexibility there and just, we'll continue to visit that
yes,
each time we meet.
alrighty,
Yeah, to make that official.
okay.
All right.
But thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Finish that, to me, which ones, are you making references that we need to.
All right, do we have anything to do on this last record request, or have we already kind of covered that?
We covered it.
23rd, that's what we need next.
Or Allison.
Allison, should I
We will start public.
all right, do we have anything else?
Then we have to sign the paperwork, yeah.
Oh,
She's
yeah,
got the
I got the paper up here. I went out there and I thought, I gotta get all the levy papers ready for me to sign. There's no levies this time.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm like,
So
I'm gonna say this too, this was handed into Athens,
Oh, just-
the withdrawal of the Democratic candidate. We don't have to do anything because we're not the most populous county from our understanding.
but here it is.
But here it is.
Levies for the office.
I had asked for Athens to send it to us so
Right, yeah.
our board can look at it.
Too many elections going on at one time.
It's all right,
Yeah.
all right, so,
Now, and then when you vote, you wanna make sure that it doesn't include the 95th house. When we certify today.
This was the withdrawal from the Democratic candidate in the 94th that went to Athens. I asked them to just send it to you so our board can review it.
And then it's here.
So-
multiple copies or?
That's what, they all had the same form number, I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know why so many, but
Do you have to sign that?
no, you don't have to
No,
sign
we're
it.
just
I just
looking at
wanted
it.
you guys to
Informational.
review it. It's just informational at this point.
Oh, I see, each county, they all accepted it.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Oh,
so
okay,
that's what it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Peggy and Tracy, Catherine and
Oh, I
George,
see.
and whoever that is.
Yeah.
For the best.
And one of them's on the back, right? Yeah.
And just informational, that person, that candidate's name is
Tanya
Tanya
Conrad.
Conrad. Yeah.
That's one with Drew, or?
Ryan Goodman.
Ryan Goodman withdrew, right?
Right, she's the one who they nominated
To replace.
to replace
Ryan
Ryan
was
Goodman.
it.
Yeah, Tanya Conrad.
Yeah,
Conrad.
I think she's from, what, Athens,
Athens.
maybe a lawyer.
She is a lawyer, she's part of the Conrad Realty,
Larry is.
Larry Conrad Realty.
Yeah.
She's a Conrad, so
So
she's one of them.
Right now.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate why they didn't find her beforehand, but.
Yeah, that would be nice, and have a candidate that withdraws and goes missing, but anyway.
Seems
All right, so what do we have left?
Yeah, he's MIA, they can't get him.
Wow.
Well, they got a hold of him long enough to get his withdrawal.
Yeah.
That's what I was just gonna say. He at least came.
He's missing in action, he's
Yes.
a student, he's a college student.
He went home.
And he went home.
He went home, like,
And then he got elected and he was like, I don't wanna run.
They got elected.
Wait a minute, he had to run new petitions.
Yeah, no, he did do that, and he did that, and actually, I think, as I recall, his father was helping him run around getting petitions and all that. I mean, he did a lot of stuff to get himself on the ballot,
And then he
and
gets.
then he went home and decided, I'm not coming.
Where's home?
I don't know, I don't
But he's a
remember.
student in Athens.
Yeah.
I mean, his address was a dorm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have no control over that.
Okay, so you need to
So what do we
vote.
need, vote to certify?
Yeah, minus the 95th.
I vote to certify the election results as presented with the exception of the 95th.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
I'm ready.
So we got that out of the way. I should tell you, I think, I'm guessing, that Robin may have received a letter as well
I did.
from supportive citizens that I would say are all within our party.
That's true.
That wrote to us indicating that they have high hopes that we'll not send quite as much unused funds back and make upgrades, et cetera, to our practice procedures, et cetera. And the one thing I noted was that, for lack of a better phrase and paraphrasing, that way board members could get into the public more by doing voter outreach, education, poll worker recruitment, and speaking at events around the county. I think part of the upshot is that a better messaging system, et cetera, website updates more frequently, using, they are suggesting that the director and deputy director should be going to some national training, conferences, et cetera, to find out how things are being done across the country and not just limiting ourselves to what goes on in
We
Ohio.
are the law.
And so,
That's what I think, but.
just saying,
Okay.
that it's, because periodically let's face it, we go to these meetings and I haven't been to one, I can't recall being to an association meeting where they didn't haul somebody in from outside Ohio to talk about what's going on in the rest of the world. This would be a way for you to talk with peers on a level and be able to query them about.
Which there is like a national association of election officials.
Right.
And I do get those emails, I'm on that email list, and I just
We're not
always thought
sending
that
it
that's,
to Hawaii.
yeah. I was waiting.
Waiting for Hawaii, Puerto Rico would be kind of fun. Hey, Hawaii?
You wanna go to West Virginia? We'll
Yeah,
consider it.
okay, I can go to Charleston.
No, but to be serious, we already talked today about doing some more of
Yeah.
the stuff that they want us to do.
Right.
And I'm not sure that, of course, I wasn't here when we sent the other money back. I wasn't on here for that, but I mean, my first thought was a lot of that is very specific about what you can use it for.
It is.
So it's not like
All
we
of it
could
is.
siphon it out to do this.
whatever.
But then the question would be, are there other things that we can shift to the grants, for instance, that would then free up other money that we could use
Right.
to do some of these things? And, maybe, I mean, it's a good thought, and we actually have talked about some stuff. Maybe we should come up with what is our promotional campaign? I mean, maybe we should have a promotional campaign and kind of identify certain things that we do. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, to me, the one thing that was most important, whether they had requested it or not, is the fact that we are moving a lot of voters around. So I think we do need to.
We have to,
You have to do
that's first and
We
foremost.
have to do it.
I wanted to tell you too, that Michelle Newbanks is no longer with the Times. So I'm going to,
Now there's nobody.
well, and
That's what we were wondering.
After just
We
reading-
replaced her with Nancy something or other, who used to be with the Times and is now back.
Nancy, okay.
Well,
Because-
find out who, yeah.
I mean, when I read the Times-
Be around.
Most stories on the front page are Associated Press.
Yeah, it's not,
I mean, it's not local news,
Well-
so,
very little.
The only thing I liked about that is that at least for a couple of times, they started putting the indictments on page 4. Because I actually squawked about that and said, if you're trying to attract business here,
Yeah, put an indictment.
why
Alright, putting
and
these
you
on this.
always put the arrest picture of these people that look like they were shot at and hit.
Oh, exactly.
And I'm saying, and we're trying to get intel to come. And they're looking, going, that's a resident of, yeah, let's go look up towards Alita.
yeah. So, which is sad because, in my entire career, the Times was a local newspaper and it's kind of sad for me for that reason. So it is harder to get our word out but as soon as that person, I will call the Times. I think Michelle is going to city
She's
council.
the city clerk now.
Yeah, she's the city clerk.
Oh, is that what they ended up doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
She, what is,
She's the Marietta city clerk.
She
Yes.
gets paid a heck of a lot.
A lot more and she
Well,
gets
yes, Times pays
benefits.
nothing. They
And
pay
she
crap.
needed benefits.
This is-
Yeah,
yeah.
And it was not, I'm sure it was.
She'll work at City Hall.
Yeah.
right there on,
Yeah.
what is it?
Well, no, actually, she'll be in where the,
Armory?
no, across from the mayor's office.
Oh.
They have the city
Across
council.
the mayor's
Yeah,
office.
in the building where the health department and stuff is, they have a city council office and a conference.
Oh,
room.
that's probably where like the auditor and
Yeah.
treasurer, or they were there.
No, the auditor and treasurer with the mayor now.
Oh, okay.
But it's across the way where the health department is and the, water, sewer, all of that is there. And, cause I was just there the other day, and you go on that floor, and they have a city council office where the clerk would be, and then they have a conference room.
We had a request too, Sheila Lovett, who was our part-time worker. I understand there is a move to collect some items for Kentucky flood victims. A lot of our PPE is expiring or going to expire. She wondered if the board will, if we're allowed to, now that was given by grant money too, can we donate that to this cause?
Which I asked Caleb, our liaison,
Mhm.
we've called him multiple times and he had not heard back on whether we were able.
Well, until they can tell us yes, I don't know how we can do that. Cause we'll get jammed with that.
All of our COVID stuff,
Yeah.
We'll get jammed with that if we don't get approval. I mean, if that's not okay.
Since it was grant money, that's.
Yeah,
what I would think.
yeah.
Right.
But if it is, you guys are good with us.
Oh, yeah, I don't,
I mean, we're handing it out as people vote.
yeah, I don't.
Well,
think
some of they were hand wipes that,
Yeah.
expired, I mean.
Yes, I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that, too.
Get approval, absolutely.
Okay, all right. And if not there, maybe we'll give it to the shelters.
Just
around
document
here.
it.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
document it. Okay,
All right, are we done?
adjournment.
I think,
Yeah, just to point out, I mentioned, we will have a vote at our next meeting on the polling locations.
we have to pick our audit before we go.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, do we have the box?
Well, I need to get the,
You got the-
precinct results, or actually, did he have them?
There's a copy of,
I thought that was there.
This would have, yeah, how many were cast in each precinct. So we can use them.
What's the magic number?
So we have to do 5% of our,
5% of our 4.9%.
yes.
5% of point. Okay, somebody else go on with that.
I don't need a recorder in there now.
Does that mean we only need one potentially?
Probably, so it's.
What's five? Okay, well, how many more? Nine?
Wait.
4.9, 4.98.
No, you look at the numbers, don't you?
Well, you look at
5%.
What's the whole number of the vote?
The whole number was, what? Did really only 2,075
No, no, no,
people?
But that's
No, that's
this is the official one, it's 2094.
2,094
Oh, 94.
times
Five times
5%.
5% is what?
Point zero.
104.7, so 105.
So maybe you'll.
Please,
You got this, Denise.
come on, Denise.
Well, that is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot of pressure, baby.
Please not bury it on 1A or.
Well, that might be 106.
No,
All
I
right.
don't think we have any that are that many.
What if we don't have that many?
Well,
No, we have done it in
Then we
October.
have to have two, and you're certain.
You may have to,
We have to have
yeah,
like three,
yeah.
actually.
Oh, to meet
Stay away
100.
from new math.
Actually, you do want a big
I
one.
think there's
Yeah,
16 or
yeah.
something.
There was a
This
one.
year, 35 there.
Yeah.
105.
All right, here we go.
One was separated.
Big audit,
Yeah, we're picking them back
you
down.
don't have a good track record, are you sure you?
An awesome track record until, man.
You were doing it so well till you
Listen,
showed those.
I'm just very tired of looking at all the voters in Belpre 4A. For the last two elections, we've done Belpre 4A, and I'm like,
All
I'm done with that.
right, big one. What do we got?
Here we go.
Vincent.
Oh,
Ooh,
How many?
All right. so
Vincent.
Vincent.
Lighthouse Baptist.
Oh, you guys have a lot of races, what are you gonna, what has to be audited?
105.
That's your 105.
25? Oh, my God. 25. Oh, God.
Charlie, what'd you do? Go out and tell
really,
everybody to
what's up with
stay home?
What do we need,
This
107?
turnout,
105.
748 voters.
Was it 105 we need?
Yeah, 105.
we need.
What'd you say, Ryan?
105.
This may turn out to be 3 or 4.
Oh, my gosh.
Just to get big
Well,
names.
I mean, 25.
Most of the races weren't contested, so that's
Okay,
probably.
here we go.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
Lowell Adams.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, they vote heavy there.
All right, what do we got?
10.
Okay, that's funny.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, we need 70 more. I know, that's crazy.
Oh, wait, that was election day was 10, I'm sorry. So they had 25.
Oh, okay, that's a little better.
And
Okay,
was
so now we're down to
Vincent
55.
25.
25 and 25, all right, so we got 50. That's Willie.
Almost halfway there.
Oh, I remember him, I love
He's a good little boy.
Muskingum East C.
Oh, no,
Now, that might be a big one, that might put us over.
yeah, because that has 77.
Yep, that's it,
Oh, there we go.
77,
What was
all
my
right,
total?
we're done. That's 3,
How'd I do?
50.
Oh, you did well.
27.
127. You were 2 over. That was good.
Yeah, no, I thought you said
Or
105.
105. Yeah, 127. That's all right. I had
More home with
105.
Price is Right, so.
That's not bad.
Nobody asked.
We'll take it. We'll take it.
All right,
Yeah, I'll take it.
Right in the box.
we're done.
All right.
All right.
We're
Oh,
good.
and did we decide to, yeah, we're doing the audit on the 29th.
Yes.
On the 29th, and we're going, so please, if you could, some kind of a map or something that's got
Yes.
everything listed
Yeah.
Show
so
where
that
they vote.
we can, we're making sure that we're all on the same page, what we're talking
Right.
about.
Yeah. We need a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
He doesn't have one yet, so there you go. Okay.
All in favor, aye.
Bye. All right, guys, thank you so much.
What are you running around collecting little bits?
So.
You got a wine court.
Huh?
You got a wine court.
A wine court?
Yeah.
Might
But he was having
to
some
see like
trouble
once
with
we
it.
get
I
the
never figured.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking that if you
Oh,
could,
are you sure it wasn't his, no, that wasn't a wine court, that's a,
I'd
yeah.
like to have it home. Looks like
Where'd it
this.
go? Because that's
You know,
just,
this